No, of course we're going to do predictions. In fact, we can start right now. But before I do, I should probably introduce my guests to the people who don't understand. To the people who don't understand. I'll try that again. I'll introduce my two wonderful gentlemen who have decided to join me from all around the world. We really are a global organization here today.
Make sure to have at least our token person from each region.
Yeah. See, we've got just as much diversity as the RLCS analyst desk, except for the fact that we don't have a woman. But we do have a weeb.
That's
and Espeon's got a fringe, so that's something. But Espeon, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you are to Rocket League.
So
and then I'll sell it to everybody.
Yeah, I was in the competitive scene for a long time. Recently retired because our team did pretty bad in qualifiers, and I only have a little bit of time before I go work full time. But I've been around pretty much since the start. A couple of months after it came out is when I first got into it. So yeah, I've been around for a while.
And why should people care about your predictions, Espeon? Why should we listen to what you have to say?
Because I have followed the scene because I've been in it for so long. So I know kind of a lot of what's happened, and I've played against all the players. So I know how they match up and stuff.
Yeah, as chat says, he's the best OSU player. There is that to consider. But Yummy, same thing. Tell us all about yourself way back to the second place finish in that tournament back when.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
The shameful second place clean sweep. So I used to be a player in OCE. I think it's what led me to becoming an analyst. So I'm a caster analyst, organizer as well. So I organize events for Throwdown Esports and do everything Rocket League all the time. And now I'm an RLCS analyst, and I'll be there on the desk next week doing all the OCE games as well as some of the NA and EU games. And that's basically it. That's you don't need to know why I know anything. Just use the fact that I'll be on the desk as some kind of statement of knowledge.
I mean, you are. How does it feel to be the token OCE person? How does it feel? How does that feel?
Look, as long as they pay me, I'm all good, right?
That must feel pretty good, right? They're like, we need anybody, anyone
token
from Australia.
Guy, token OCE, token female, token. I don't know who else. Token Gibbs.
Token Laudabadell.
Nice Bedell.
Oh, how could they spell Quinn's surname wrong? It's not even his name. It's his IGN.
Pseudo surname.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Yummy and Espeon. Definitely two of the smartest minds in Rocket League from the respective regions and indeed the world. So we're just, I'm what time? It's currently 43 past midnight by me. Espeon, you'll be 43 past 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And Yummy is 43 past 11 in the morning, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So a fairly agreeable time for everybody, because I always stay up late anyway, so it's not actually too hard. I thought this was going to be much harder to get everybody on, but it's not that bad. But yeah, we're going to get right into this because we've got a lot to get through. First, I'll explain what we're going to do here. Of course, you can see this lovely bracket that we've had put together by Nissan Cup Noodles. We're really, gracious, or not, what's the word? Grateful that they've done this for us. It took a long time. We ordered it weeks ago, and it only showed up actually right before we went live. That's when it appeared. But what it is oh my goodness, my alerts are popping off. But we have
I would love to see G2 win LAN.
Dub
Too
interrupted
bad they
us
suck.
with some spam.
www.
I'm going to skip spam today just to warn you guys. I let this one play, but after this I'm skipping spam.
ZZZZ.
Wait, is that
Roses are
proudly
red.
sponsored? It does.
Violets are blue.
Unbelievable.
G2 sucks. Why do they have to suck? Do you have a theory?
We will take questions later, and I will literally skip all spam this stream only, because I know people are going to complain if they can't hear what Espeon and Gummy are saying because there's spam happening. So don't spam, or else I'll skip it. You've been warned. But moving back to what I was saying, we've got all the matches here. These are all the teams. We'll go through all the teams and all the matches, and then as we go, since there's three of us, we're just gonna vote for who we think is gonna win. We'll talk about the matchup obviously in a bit more detail, but after we've had a majority vote, we'll move on the majority vote in our bracket. So this is kind of our bracket. It's not necessarily any one of our bracket, because we know if it was Yummy's bracket, he would just have an OCE versus OCE final. So we can't have that. Me and Espeon are here to stop that from happening. But we're gonna like highlight E is Espeon, J is me, of course, Johnny Boy, and Y is Yummy Cheeseman. So we're gonna fill in a little green dot for whoever we think is gonna win, and then move that player onward. The number in the top left is what match number that is, and then like here it says W1. That means the winner of match 1 will get moved into W1. So once we've determined who the winner of this one is, we'll put them in place of W1. And L1 down here is a loser of match 1. So once we've agreed on who we think is going to lose match 1, we'll put them there. And so on and so on. 18 matches total. Well, we've got 17 in the grand final. And we'll talk about if there's going to be a bracket reset as well. And also, final thing to do before we start is, if anything is wrong with the bracket, blame Yummy, because Nissan Cup Noodles hired him to put this all together in order, and he said it was spot on. I didn't double check that because I was like, I can't be bothered. I think this is fine.
Look, it looks about right.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Enough. She'll be
much
right,
better.
mate.
It looks much better than I thought it would. So without further ado, sorry about the long introduction, guys, but I needed to explain before we just get asked a million times what on earth is going on. Not going to explain it again, so rip if you weren't listening. Match numero uno. We have North America versus OCE. G2 Esports versus Chiefs. And I think to start off this discussion, we need to have Yummy tell us about Chiefs. Who are they? Why should we care about them? And how much of a chance do you think they have here? Because I think you more than anybody is going to have a good idea of what the realistic chance is for them to win.
So, for those who don't know, Chiefs is the old Alpha Sydney team. So you know them and love them. They came through as the champions last time, and they took down Denial, who took down G2, so, you know, very obvious implications there. But Chiefs came through. They actually had a pretty rough online season, because when they came back from RLCS, they tried to change up everything about their play. They tried to change it to suit more international. But in doing so, they kind of lost a lot of their solid rotations and play style. But they're still the LAN boys. So even though they didn't dominate online, they dominated at LAN, at PAX. And in terms of like their stats coming in on the finals, it was absolutely ridiculous. Up against G2, it's probably their actual best matchup amongst all of the teams except for obviously Pale Horse. But I still think it's about a 50-50 here, Chiefs and G2. Just
really?
because I think
50-50?
that Chiefs are going to be able to outpace G2. The big question for me in terms of G2 is, I think Rizzo and Kronovi are going to be fine with the crowd. Kronovi's got the ever so slight question mark, but JNaps is, I think, a full question mark. And G2 really rely on JNaps to be setting up and executing a lot of their goals. So if JNaps is on fire on the day, I think G2 will win. But if JNaps is anything else, it could definitely go Chiefs' way. But yeah, I definitely think it's about a 50-50. It is roughly even between these two teams.
Espeon, you speak about that a little bit if you can, the JNaps factor, because Yummy mentioned it and a lot of people know about it. J2, is it going to be J2 or G2? Especially
right.
in day one, in the most important, arguably the most important matchup of the tournament.
I definitely agree with what Yummy is saying, because we've seen Kronovi and Rizzo at LAN before. Kronovi in season 1, iBuyPower, winning the whole thing. He was super clutch on LAN. Granted, no one else had any LAN experience at the time, but he showed he's perfectly fine on LAN. Rizzo, he played with Take 3, and they were the only NA team that didn't underperform in season 2. So both of those guys have shown that they can make runs in LAN. JNaps, yeah, he's the question mark. He's such a solid player. He's, for a long time now, been, arguably the best player in NA. Now with C9 doing so well, it's probably one of them. But JNaps is super solid, super consistent. But when we saw G2 kind of collapse towards the end of season 3, I thought a lot of that was they kind of went away from what they do really well with passing, and they just did solo plays constantly. And it felt like they were trying to force something. And if JNaps, under the pressure, starts to feel like he needs to try and force plays, I think that's where G2 would go wrong. But if JNAPs can, stay composed and G2 can do what they do best, pass it around and stuff, I think they should take this series. I don't know as much about the OCE teams, but I did see that Chiefs, but formerly Alpha Sydney, they were showing some really good stuff at LAN last season, stuff that you kind of weren't seeing some of the other regions do as well, but they were kind of behind in other areas. So I guess it depends how much, like you were saying, they try to change their play style. If that has really worked out for them now, I could definitely see that, but I don't know enough. I would predict G2 to win this, but the JNAPS factor, we'll see.
I think in terms of OCE as well, the entire OCE region has really improved a lot. Like both NA and EU have also improved since last season, in my opinion, especially NA, but OCE has improved a ton. I don't know if they haven't done enough, I think, to catch up with NA and EU yet. They're still only second season of RLCS, still don't have as many international opportunities, like invite lands that NA and EU have gotten, so they're still going to be behind. But all the teams, even if Jam were to come back, they would be performing much better than they did last season. What's interesting about this first match, is that I'm almost certain that the loser of this match is going to come ninth. It's a must-win match for these teams. If you lose, you go up against the loser of
Method Energy.
Are you sure it's Method Energy? Isn't it Mocket Energy?
That's what we have. We have Method Energy. Well, no, wait.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah,
no, it is
the loser
Method
of this
Energy.
Goes up against the loser of Method and NRG.
That's correct.
And I think in both cases that's like a very quick exit from the tournament. So you need to win this match so that you can go up against, say, Ghost in the next round.
Gale Force, you mean? Rather. Yeah, the winner of this
Well,
doesn't
Gale
have an
Force
easy
and then
after
lose,
either.
right? Yeah, and
But
the
oh yeah, well
assumption
yeah, if they
that
lose,
the winner
yeah.
of these two teams is probably going to lose to Gale Force.
Yeah,
I should say.
that's true. So you said 50-50, Yummy, and Espeon, you said G2 would take it, but you didn't sound that confident. But
Yeah.
what do you think about Yummy's 50-50? I think that is ridiculous to call it a 50-50, even with G2's inconsistency. I think that's like the most bold thing I've ever heard.
I mean, I don't know enough about these teams to be super confident, but I think based on what I've seen, I think G2 has a pretty decent upper hand. But
I mean, I kind of want, a little part of me wants to be proven wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think the Chiefs are gonna have such a hard time. I think OCE really have it in for them this time because there's no easy draw. Like last time, I think Denial were pretty beatable, and they were beaten.
Well, there was Denial and Selfless without Dapper last season as well.
Yeah.
That were both like very beatable teams.
Yeah.
This season, there's no very beatable team in the entire.
And even Leftovers didn't look that consistent till they, started getting some games or game time on the stage. But this season it's a bit different. All these teams have been practicing a lot. Yeah. There's been so many LANs between RLCS Season 2 and this one. I don't know. I think it's going to be like heavily favored for G2. And the other problem is that for Alpha Sydney versus Denial in RLCS Season 2, the crowd was way behind Alpha Sydney. They wanted Alpha Sydney to win just for the upset. Right. I don't know if that was just because Denial was entirely Canadian and then the US crowd were like, yes, Australia. But either way, they were going crazy when Alpha Sydney would score. They're like, is this actually going to happen? And OC team's going to win. Massive underdog story. I don't think that's going to happen. Even though they are still the underdogs and they're going to have a lot of fans because of that, G2 are going to be the most popular team of the tournament, right? Yeah. And the crowd's just going to be going crazy for G2. And how are Alpha Sydney, or I call them Alpha Sydney, but they're now Chiefs. How are Chiefs going to deal with that, Yummy?
Well, it's very interesting. I think going to Chiefs, looking at them last season, they had more LAN experience technically than everyone else, but it didn't matter. RLCS is a much bigger fish. It's the biggest tournament in front of the most people watching, and a 3,000 member crowd is going to be incredibly important. So G2 do have the advantage there, and I think you're right in that they will have most of the crowd behind them. The Chiefs gained a ton of fans, and more importantly, that RLCS experience from last season is probably going to lend to them very well. Coming in last season, they were nervous and shit on LAN. Let's just say they played they didn't play well.
Yeah.
The only match that they kind of played all right was against Mocket. That was when they played decently for their LAN, but they played pretty poorly against both Denial and definitely against Leftovers. They were horrible against Leftovers. This season, I think they're going to perform much better at RLCS. They're the only team from OC that are experienced on RLCS, and even Pale Horse, who we'll talk about later, keep talking about how, they're just going to go there and have fun. It's incredibly hard not to be nervous on such a huge stage. So Chiefs, I do think, have a small advantage here in terms of how they're going to perform at an RLCS LAN as a trio.
All right, last thing I want to know before we make predictions, because we're probably going to not talk about this too much longer because we have so much to get through, but Chiefs, they're currently in North America to scrim and practice.
Yep.
And obviously that's great. What about Pale Horse? Are Pale Horse already over? Or are they coming later?
No, Pale Horse are going on Monday.
Okay. But Chiefs right now, they're already scrimming, and I can say from seeing them practice the day after they arrived before Season 2 LAN, when they were Alpha Sydney, and by the end of the week, they had improved a lot. They were a completely different team. So if they can do that again and try to, elevate their playstyle, then that is, I think, when they can show up on stage and take a series. But without any further ado, I want your guys' predictions. Espeon, since you're first in alphabetical order, G2 Chiefs. And it is a best of 5, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
best of 5.
Yeah, we could put scores in here as well for the banter. So what do you think it's going to be?
I'll say G2.
Or you just type it in if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Just so the mystery.
3-1.
Which game are Chiefs going to take? Is it going to be like 1 and then they get reverse swept? Well, not really reverse sweep, you know what I mean?
I don't know, maybe 2. Probably just take one.
It's gonna look
the
like
first game on LAN's always
one.
Incredibly important, I think, for morale, especially
I agree.
for the OC against G2 or OC versus anyone, because a lot of people are going to come in sort of misjudging or downjudging OC. So if you lose that first game, you're going to be thrown off.
It's so interesting.
First game of the whole LAN.
I'm going to go 3-2 for the Chiefs just because I'm biased.
How much of you do like? Obviously, your heart says 3. Maybe your heart says 3-0 for the Chiefs. Well, what does your head say, Yummy? How much do you really believe? I still
think it's very even. I would not be surprised by it either way.
50-50.
I said it's a 50-50, but it's probably ever so slightly in G2's favor, like a 60-40. But that doesn't matter for me.
Man,
the Chiefs.
G2.
I don't want to see Chiefs go instantly knocked out.
So you think they're gonna beat G2 3-2? I like it, but nah, I've got to give it to G2. I can't, like, no matter how much my heart wants Chiefs to win, just because it would be really funny. Not because I have anything against the G2 guys. They're great. They're a great team, but their fans can be really obnoxious. It'd be hilarious to see everybody really disappointed and Twitter explode. But as much as I want that to happen, I just think that G2 are gonna be too good. And I think they're also gonna come out the gates pretty hot this time. The reason I'm gonna put their losses and their bad performance in the last LAN a lot down to the like, from what I've heard from just hearing them speak about it on their streams, their bad setups and the LAN build lagging, which is pretty funny. But yeah, apparently the LAN build lagged in Northern Arena. I'm gonna give it 3-0. Not just to be different. I honestly was gonna do this no matter what. I just don't think Chiefs are going to have it in them to match up with the mechanical prowess of J2. JNAPS is just going to be too good, in my opinion.
JNAPS is the scary factor.
If JNAPS is like very solid on LAN, G2 has the potential to make a pretty good run.
Yep.
All right, but yeah, since we have a majority vote here for G2, we're going to put G2 here against Yummy's will, and then this is number 1, so L1 now becomes Chiefs. Down here, we'll come back to them later after we've done the winners bracket. But second game, another OCE team. We probably won't take too long to talk about this one because we already covered a lot of general OCE stuff. But Yummy, tell us a little bit about Pale Horse. Who are they? How quickly have these guys risen up out of nowhere?
Well, Pale Horse didn't exist in last season of RLCS. They formed in the off season. They've come through, and now they're the second best team in Oceania. Like, proven across online and LAN play in multiple tournaments. They are definitely number 2, but they're also quite young. They have a very aggressive, fast play style. They don't worry too much about defense. And so Pale Horse, I think, are going to struggle a little bit here internationally, not because they're not great players, but because I think they're going to be forced on defense a lot more than they're used to, and that's going to be really harsh for them. In terms of Pale Horse and PSG, Pale Horse and PSG have a very similar play style. PSG do it better. Pale Horse are more team-oriented, though. They get a lot more passes off compared to PSG, who get a lot of huge solo plays that either score or open up the net. But either way, I think it's going to be more about the experience right here in this first match for Pale Horse.
Okay. Espeon, I'm not going to lie to you. I know so little about this team. I've only seen them play once, and that was in the OCE playoffs. So that's like almost entirely what I'm basing my thought process off. But have you got anything you want to say about this matchup?
Well, I think we saw PSG make a really big run at the Northern Arena Invitational. So there's a chance they're just going to come out really solid. Maybe they're just really strong on LAN. And they've shown that they can do well on LAN. So I think, given that they've had that experience making a deep run already, I don't think they're going to be too daunted by this match early on.
How much do you think the underdog factor is going to help them out, if at all?
You mean Palehurst?
Yeah.
I mean, it does help to not feel too much of an expectation. If anything pulls them through, I'd say it's that. But I don't know enough about this team, but I don't really think it would be enough.
I think for PSG as well, this is a really good match for them. I actually think they're going to be shitting the bed at LAN. Again, even though they've got LAN experience at Northern Arena and
it's not the same.
Other places, it is not the same, and especially in front of such a huge crowd, it's nothing the same. But I think Pale Horse are going to be shitting the bed as well, shagging the carpet, dropping the ball all over the place. And so this is going to be a good match for PSG to figure out the stage, gain a little bit of confidence, because they're young guys as well. They've got Bluey and Chaussette, who have a big chance of sort of just fumbling around. And Pale Horse are going to be in a very similar situation. They're known for dropping right at the start of LAN.
How much chance do you think there is of PSG just not respecting Pale Horse enough? Because we've seen that happen in Rocket League before. I think that's kind of what happened with Gale Force and Ghost in Northern LAN. They just got swept because I think they were so they're already thinking beyond the Ghost series. They're like, let's just get this team out the way, then we can play against Cloud9 and the other EU teams and try and redeem ourselves. Oh wait, we lost. Whoops. I personally don't think that's likely to happen with PSG versus Pale Horse. I don't think they're just going to be completely disrespecting their opponents. Get scored on and they'll be like, oh, it's just luck. No, luck. 50-50s, RNG, Rocket League's entirely random. Let's just rage about it and then accidentally lose. I don't see it happening, but do either of you guys think that's a possibility?
I think with this team being like a first-time RLCS LAN team, I don't think they'll take anything for granted. I think they'll come out of the gates.
I think if PSG were to lose their first game or second game, then they'd very definitely be able to come back. Maybe nerves would get to them. But I can't see a scenario right here where PSG lose, given it's just a mechanical advantage. It's just straight out 1-to-1 advantage here.
Yeah. Also, it's going to be worth noting that the EU teams don't have anywhere near as far to fly this time. It's not as bad.
True.
It's nowhere near as bad.
The Aussies are
East Coast and West Coast in the past.
Hours.
Yeah, the Aussies have got a fair way to go.
Right. Chiefs being out there early helps a lot.
Yeah. Where are the Chiefs? What location are they in? Are they already
in
Washington?
DC.
Wow, that's pretty handy. So that's pretty cool. That's very well prepared. That's why I predicted that they lose 3-0. But yeah, prediction time. Espeon, PSG, Pale Horse. What's it going to be?
I'll just say this one will be a 3-0. If they come out of the gate strong, they should be able to carry that momentum through the series.
Right, Yummy. You've got 3 in PSG. Are you giving anything to Pale Horse?
I've got a 3 on PSG. I don't know where Pale Horse are going to go. If they win the first match or first game, they'll probably take 2 games out of the series. If they lose the first game, they'll probably go 3-0. So it's sort of a toss-up. I'm going to go halfway in between and just say they take a game.
All right. Sorry, OCE, love you, but I just don't. I just don't see it happening this time. I don't know why, but
Look, as
I mean,
long
this
as
is a rough
Kami,
one.
who is potentially, he's probably the second best player in OCE behind Torsos and very close to Torsos there on Pale Horse. As long as he gets a goal, he'll be the first player from New Zealand to ever get a goal at RLCS.
Oh yeah, because
And that's what you got to root for.
there was a New Zealand player at last RLCS, wasn't there?
Monty Connor.
That East didn't score.
And you're going to love the Pale Horse guys. They're real lads. They're great guys. They're the most entertaining team in OCE. So even if they don't perform here in this match, they're going to be fun to watch.
Interviews. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But that means, let's see, Pale Horse are going to move down here. And PSG going to move forward here. This side of the bracket, though, it's so stacked.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Like, just really quickly, for me, this side of the bracket here in matches 5 and 6, this is, in my opinion, 4 of the top 5 teams in the tournament, all in this half. Would you guys agree?
I agree.
Yeah, with the other being Gale Force.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. That's just the way that it works out, because one, PSG like came 4th in EU, which is kind of silly by them. Like, they could very easily be where Mucket is right now.
That reverse sweep.
Yeah, they didn't get reverse swept. But also NRG, they did worse than Ghost, which is kind of an upset.
But they've been very solid overall.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think NRG
Other
are
than that
definitely
one
above Ghost, especially like apart from that 3-0 Ghost did against Gale Force. NRG have looked better against EU teams. But yeah, we do have full NA versus EU quarterfinals here. So the first one, Gale Force G2, Espeon, NA's poster boys. We've got Rizzo. We've got Kronovi. There's so many Twitter followers.
Yeah,
here.
that's a lot of
That's
Twitter
like
followers
a
combined.
lot of Twitter followers. But is that gonna help them at all? Are people? How many times do people need to tweet at them that they're gonna win before it actually happens against Gale Force, one of the most dominant teams in the world? And until they upset Loss in Northern Arena, many people thought that they were like maybe the best team in the world. It was either them or C9. But what do you think? Your Jitsu?
Yeah.
Do they have a chance? And what do they need to do to win?
I think they have a chance, but it's okay if I briefly go into the whole NA versus EU throughout Rocket League.
Oh, of course.
It's
Yeah.
like the last real backstory we need, but I think it's something
go for
good
it.
to talk about, right? So early on in the game, when Rocket League first came out, the strength of the scenes was basically determined by how many SARP vets the scenes had. And EU had a lot more SARP vets than NA, who are like towards the top of SARP. So EU started out so much stronger than NA. It wasn't even close. And other players were able to get all this practice against SARP vets. And for any of you who don't know, SARP being the predecessor game to Rocket League, which was not hugely popular, but there was a very dedicated group of people who played it a lot. And so EU started out so much stronger. And everyone knew that. It took a while. NA's kind of been closing the gap ever since, but a lot of people look at the Season 1 LAN. They say, oh, NA won, iBuyPower won it. But that was the first ever LAN that any of the Rocket League players had ever played. iBuyPower, in terms of online, was definitely nowhere near the best team in the world. They were, at best, 3rd in NA, behind Exodus and Kings of Urban. But on LAN, they just played super well. But the rest of the NA teams didn't do so great, with 2 5th-place finishes and a 7th place, I think. And then, so after that, people thought, NA's caught up to EU, NA won LAN, but it was a bit of a fluke. And then that kind of showed itself going into Season 2. I think in the NA scene, we generally felt that we were closer to EU in Season 2 than in Season 1, but did so much worse. And then Season 3, I think it closed even more, but NA just kind of didn't even send its best teams to LAN. Iris didn't qualify for league play. They were one of the top teams. And then G2 looked so good early in the season, looked like they could compete at the very top level, and then they kind of collapsed at the end. So even though NA had looked really strong, certain circumstances led us to not sending our best teams, and NRG did get 3rd, which is not bad, and they looked like they could have taken those series. They were close series, even in the winners finals and losers finals, but NRG, so they got 3rd. That was a good achievement, and NA started to get closer. And then the offseason happens. Cloud9 wins DreamHack. NRG wins X Games. And now recently, the Northern Arena Invitational, Cloud9 wins that, and NRG gets third, and Ghost gets fourth. So NA's starting to look like they can really compete with these top EU teams at LAN. The question is, the RLCS LAN, like we've said, is bigger than these. These are one time, just like DreamHack. You just go to DreamHack, you compete. RLCS is the culmination of the whole season. Can NA now perform where it really counts? I think that's the real story coming in.
Yeah. Northern America as well as a region have really cleaned up their play. I think it's kind of switched up a lot, where in the past, North America were just trying to play as fast as they can. Only NRG was really playing with any kind of team play or synergy as such. There was obviously team play happening, but now you're noticing NA playing smart, which seems like a bit of an oxymoron, but it's happening. They're playing intelligently. They're not overcommitting. They're not doing really stupid stuff. And you compare that to EU, who are more just relying on playing as fast as possible. They're going up for pretty much every ball when perhaps they shouldn't be. And I think that I actually don't know how that's going to perform on such a big LAN here, whether it's better to play smart, intelligently, or if that's going to break down when it comes to LAN and it's just going to be about pace, because that has been a big factor in, say, Northern Gaming's win last time.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't think pace can win LANs, look at last final, where in Northern Gaming were just literally faster than Mucket. That's how they won. It's going to be interesting. I think that this... I have no idea what you guys are going to predict for these matchups. Absolutely no idea. And just a little preface, I didn't think about this too much before going in. I wanted it to be quite off the top of my head kind of thing, just because I like sticking with my first instinct on this. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and say that although I was predicting G2 3-0 here, I don't have much confidence for them against Gale Force. I just don't think that they're going to have the belief in themselves. I think they're going to go in to this matchup versus Chiefs, and they're going to think, we can win this. Then they're going to face Gale Force. They're going to be like, I don't know if we can win this. And even if they try to convince themselves that they can, I don't know if they're going to believe it. You know what I mean? And Gale Force, they've already had their mistake where they got 3-0'd by Ghost. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think they're going to be a lot more careful. They're not going to allow an NA team they're not going to go into a series and just not respect their opponent, right? I think they'll probably have more respect for G2 than Ghost anyway, which I think will help them. So I'm giving this one Gale Force. I want to hear your guys' predictions after, but I think it could be close. But I think the fans are going to be disappointed by a 3-1 this time in favor of Gale Force. But yeah, if you guys disagree, I want to know why, because I have no idea what you guys are going to say for this one. Nothing whatsoever.
I think
they're all talking. Yeah, I should have probably said a name. Espeon, you go first then.
Okay.
I should probably say that.
So I was inclined to say the same thing. I'm going to say 3-1 for this one. So, because I think Gale Force, like Yemi was saying, does really kind of embody that playing with a lot of pace, going for a lot of stuff, which might not always be the best thing to go for, but they're confident in it and they just go for it. And so they make some plays, and even when it seems like it might not make a lot of sense, it's actually a lot smarter than it might look at first. And if they're confident in their plays, they're going to get to the ball so fast too. They make a lot of crazy plays. They're super mechanically talented, and I think G2 is very good with passing plays, and they're good individual players too, but I don't think they will quite be able to keep up with the pace here.
I'm in agreement on that statement. I don't think G2 can keep up with the pace at all at Gale Force. I think G2's weakness is going to be speed, because I do think that the G2 playstyle is very solid. I really like watching them play, but they're not going to be able to keep up. Gale Force, I actually think that, and I'm glad that they won the EU Regional Championship, because I do think they're the best team in EU right now. There's arguments on both sides, especially with PSG and a Method in the mix. But Gale Force only got just beaten in Game 5s against both Method and PSG, and I think PSG reverse swept them in league play. So it was really close. They could have 7-0'd EU, which would have been amazing. They didn't, but they showed up at the end. I think this is actually a 3-0 to Gale Force.
Oh, that's savage. I think some G2 fans just unfollowed you on Twitter for that one. That's just a little bit too far. They're like, oh my goodness, Espeon Johnny 3-1, really? Then Yummy 3. They're like, he's crossed the line. I'm unfollowing him. Gonna make a Reddit thread about this guy. Just completely out of order. But at least we're all in agreement
How
here.
dare.
So G2 are no, sorry, am I talking about Gale Force? Moving on, and then loser of 3 goes down here apparently. So G2. That's how this works. We're just taking the number here as match 3, and we're putting the winner of this where W3 was, and the loser of this where L3 was down here, and we'll catch up to that in the order of matches. But moving in to the Ghost Mocket matchup, Mocket have found themselves here after reverse sweeping PSG in the 3rd place match for EU, and Ghost got in here after their revenge from their league play loss to G2, so they had to play through that 3rd versus 6th place match in the playoffs for NA, but they 4-0'd FlyQuest as we all expected. Then they got their revenge on G2. They smashed them because G2 were the ones who put them into that playoffs, but they came back and they beat them, and then they even for that reason they got to be seated above NRG without ever playing against NRG. So that's pretty lucky if you're Ghost, in my opinion. But that's why we have this matchup. I think it's a much weaker side of the bracket. We discussed this earlier. We all think the G2, Ghost and Mocket are outside of the top 5 teams at this LAN, but one of them is going to move on to the semifinals of winners without having to play, in our opinion, a top 5 team at LAN. And let's go first over to Yummy. Talk about which one of these 2 teams you think is more lucky to be on this side of the bracket, I guess.
This is actually probably the matchup I know the least about between Ghost and Mocket. I need to do my research further into this one. I think I know it. I've got every other team down pat. It's really hard to choose. In terms of this, you really can't ever bet against Mocket. You can't bet against Pashi in particular. Fairy Peak has made it to the final as well. A lot of LAN experience there, but even then, Zane Jackie has made it through to quite far.
4th place, yeah, farthest NA team got in season 2.
So there's a lot of experience amongst both teams. I haven't been incredibly impressed by Ghost, but they've shown time and time again that they can perform and take down teams on the regular. So it's an interesting match. They only took down G2, and I think they are probably a stronger team than G2 online. But in the end, I can't bet against the EU team, and I can't bet against Mocket here in this match.
Espeon, is NA getting any luck here? You said this is the redemption for NA. Nothing?
Like, unsure about what to feel about this match because, Mocket, we saw they, like, in that 3rd place match, they come in, lose the first 3, win the next 4. Like, how they don't have 7 games in this one, but they
yeah, that's a good point.
And Ghost has, like you said, it's kind of, people weren't super high on them coming into the season. They're like, okay, yeah, Ghost probably maybe middle of the pack team here. They come out, they win, they get to 2nd place, they come out into the Northern Arena Invitational, they get to 4th place, beating Gale Force. Like, this matchup's very confusing to me, and I think this will tell us a lot about what we can maybe expect to see later as a way of like sort of seeing where the 2 regions are at. But they both kind of are also a bit of outliers in terms of the region's playstyle, in my opinion, too. So
yeah, I'm
not sure exactly what to say here, but Ghost has 2 of my former teammates on different teams, so going to go ahead and put in a 3-2 prediction for that.
Wow.
This is also a match where, like, obviously none of us really understand how it's going to go. It's pretty close. It could go either way, and then it also feels like it doesn't matter too much.
That's going to be
because of
Mucker
the
reverse
next round
sweep,
match.
boys. It's just going to be Ghost up 2-0. We think they're going to sweep another EU team. They did it to Gale Force at Northern LAN. Now they're doing it to Mucket, and then Mucket are going to reverse sweep them like they did at Season 2. And there's nothing Ghost can do about it. The thing that Mucket do have in their, obviously, in their side of the court is that when that reverse sweep starts, it doesn't stop. It's unbelievable. The amount of times that Pashy's been in comeback situations and just never stop believing is incredible. I remember listening to comms of Pashy team way back when it was like pre-RLCS Season 1. They're losing by 2 goals with like 15 seconds to go and they don't even have the ball. Most teams would just be like, yeah, I guess we'll just start thinking about the next game, stop the try-hard comms. But no, he was just thinking, how can we score a goal quickly before 0 seconds? Because we can't even keep the ball up in 0 seconds because we're down by 2. And I've seen it multiple times. Just like,
League?
oh yeah, there was that one. I remember multiple though, like scoring like a goal before 0 seconds, and then keeping the ball up on 0 seconds, and scoring another one. Like that sort of just refusal to give up. I don't think Ghost have seen that before, because when they started beating G2 in the playoffs, like G2 just fell over. They didn't get back up again. It's like, oh yeah, trample on us. We love that. Just beat us again. Oh yeah, 3-1, no problem. Beat us another time, 4-1. Yeah, exactly what we wanted. No big deal. And the same thing with Gale Force and Northernland. They just started crumbling. But that ain't going to happen with Mucket. I think we're going to see 3-2 the other way. Because 2-0 Ghost and 3-2 reverse sweep.
I do remember seeing one reverse sweep against Mucket at a RLCS LAN.
Wait, what, was that you? It was you. I knew it was you. You reverse swept the reverse sweepers.
Yeah.
You and the LAN boy Lod Bedell.
Lod Bedell.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! But yeah, Fairy Peak is
reverse.
world class as well. That's also a thing to mention. Fairy Peak is actually insanely good. So this team is actually really not to be messed with. What do you think of
I think it's
Lethemir
gonna
actually though
be-
as well? Because Lethemir had a pretty good performance at Season 1, I think, or Season 2. Yeah, he was definitely the best player on Denial, although they weren't very good. And he's back and he's looking like probably the best player. Although Zane Jackie's been impressing me as well, and he's had a good LAN performance in Season 2. I keep mixing up Season 2 and 3, you know what I mean? Season 3 Lethemir is looking good, but yeah, what do you guys think about Lethemir?
Yeah, he's for sure the best player. Best player on Ghost, that is. He's shown that as well, that he can be incredibly consistent. And from last season, he showed that he was the best team by far and that he could play on LAN. The question is, and what happened last season with Denial, is that he didn't trust his teammates. He just started hogging the ball, and as much as that can help, it's shown time and time again that you need to just let your teammates play, because winning a 1v3 isn't very good. Same thing happened to Garrett G in Season 2 on Exodus, when he just stopped trusting Turtle and Moses and just did a lot of work but couldn't win the game 1v3.
What's your? I don't see a number there next to Ghost, by the way, Yummy.
It's a 3-1 to Maka.
1.
I think it's going to be... I still think it's going to be really close, but whoever wins the series is probably going to just carry the momentum.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, even a 50-50 matchup isn't going to be 3-2 every time, you know? Even when it's super close. It
could be 3-1-0 overtime in one direction.
Chance for a team to win 3-0 if they have a 50%. Obviously, with momentum, it doesn't quite work like that, but just because a series is going to be close doesn't mean it's necessarily even a 3-2. But
True.
On average.
Oh, I think that Ghost might even come out and smash Mucket in one of the early games. Probably game 1. They might just start really, really hot because the crowd will be behind them. And, you know, sometimes Mucket can take a while to get going before the reverse sweep engine starts kicking in. We'll have to wait and see this. This is going to be interesting.
I think the biggest factor for Ghost is actually the Zane Jackie factor. I mean, he was proven
loudness
on Take 3 that he could be that exciting guy that just has fun and lets his teammates have fun. He is a big personality as well. I think he might be more crucial to their success than Lethemir's mechanical ability.
Yeah, I could see that. It's going to be very interesting. Zane Jackie's a really great personality as well. I hope the best for him. But then also hope that they lose, because I want to be right. Moving on though, Cloud9 versus PSG. This is fast becoming a very, very interesting rivalry because they matched up 3 times in the Northern Arena with Cloud9. I think, did they reverse sweep PSG in the first series they played? I think they did. Or at least I think PSG were ahead, and then Cloud9 came back to it. Somebody in chat, did Cloud9 reverse sweep?
The first series just completely crushed C9, right? In the first series against Northern. Sorry, against
it was a
C9 in Northern.
No, was it 3-1?
Earlier rounds, right? They crushed.
Yeah, I think
in the
it was either
finals.
3-1 or 3-2, but I think PSG won game 1, right? And then, it was the Method one that was the reverse sweep. No, Cloud9 did just put PSG away, I believe.
Yeah, the PSG won game 2.
Yeah, 3-1. And then PSG looked really good in the second one after they'd come through losers. And they won the second one, but then Cloud9 were able to rally. PSG might have had a little bit of fatigue because they played a long time. Either way, Cloud9 have beaten PSG twice. PSG have beaten Cloud9 once. And Cloud9 won the overall series, won the tournament. PSG came second. So they have a bit of history there. With PSG coming into this, we all think out of a pale horse domination. Cloud9 coming in as first seed. So they got the bye, of course, in round 1. But Espeon, tell us, what do you think about Cloud9? Are they the best team in the world? Is Squishy Muffins actually the second coming of Kronovi and Jazer all in one? What's happening here?
Yeah, Cloud9 is legit. Like, we saw their first... I mean, everyone knew they were good, but because the Iris didn't make it into league play, a lot of people who didn't follow the scene super closely didn't realize just how good they were. Then they come out at DreamHack and they win, and everyone's like, whoa. But then they continue their absolute tear. And, you know, none of them have been to an RLCS LAN, which is a question mark there. But given that their first LAN experience, they won. And DreamHack, while it's not RLCS, it's probably the next biggest thing there's been, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't have as much pressure on them then. They were kind of, no one expected them to go all the way through and win, so that could have helped. But they backed up that performance again at the Northern Arena Invitational. I think Cloud9 is a very, very, very good team and are one of the favorites to take the tournament.
Definitely favorites to take the tournament. I think anyone backing against them is hard, but as you said, they have 0 people who have been to an RLCS LAN. They're just such a consistent team as well, C9.
Yeah.
I don't see them really dropping much. I can't see them losing to a team that's not performing as well as them. But PSG do have the advantage of the game before. I actually think this is a really close match. PSG have the advantage of having played a match already. I think it's a really close match. It can go either way, but whoever loses, I think, will make a long lower bracket run as well.
It's also worth mentioning, Cloud9 are all non-RLCS players. So are PSG, and so are Method.
Yeah,
well,
there's
PSG have
new players this LAN. Yeah,
actually, no, they have Farah, but
this LAN in general has a lot of new players compared to the other ones.
Yeah, a lot of the old guard are just gone.
Obviously.
Yeah, but Method are brand new. They missed out by 1 game in Season 3 against Flipside. PSG have Bluey and Chaussette, who haven't played before on LAN. Mocket have got Freaky. Ghost have got a full LAN boy lineup, actually, funnily enough. G2 do not.
Just
they've got
spread out from
JNaps.
different teams.
Yeah, completely different teams, but they're all LAN boys. Same with Galeforce, spread out from different teams, but they've all played LAN deep runs before. 2 runner-ups, there are 2 grand finalists and 1 winner.
Yeah.
But PSG Method, or rather Cloud9 and Method, funnily enough, are the teams with the least experience, but a lot of people's picks to win. And, you know, they're on our side of the bracket that we think is pretty stacked. Which I think experience in Rocket League, you know, we look at teams like NRG and, you know, other players who've been around to all the LANs. Like, I mean, Pashy's been to 2, K-Dop's been to 2, Violent Panda's, I think, 1. Well, Turbo Pulse has been to 2 of them. You think about all these players who have the most experience, especially RLCS experience here, and do you consider them to be veterans who are just going to be stone cold up on stage, not making any mistakes? Because I don't. I think that still Rocket League is so young. They're all super inexperienced. I don't think that Cloud9 being RLCS newbies is going to be that big of a disadvantage because everybody's still so new.
What's very important is that in Rocket League you don't have coaches, and in particular there's a lot of esports mentality and sports mentality around live events and nerves and pressure that these players aren't really getting. I don't know about Cloud9. They actually have the resources to be able to provide that kind of coaching. Same with PSG, but I don't know if they're actually getting those coaches or coaching from those organizations. But that's when you're going to see a big leap between right now, where a team like NRG, just using experience, are probably going to be better than a brand new team coming in for their first time. But once you get to the later stage of the tournament, it doesn't seem to matter. Once it's all about those.
I don't know.
First
Will they
matches.
though? Because the first LAN that C9 showed up to, they won it, like we said. And I was the most surprised by Gimmick, honestly, because he wasn't just not proven on LAN. He wasn't like proven at all.
Right.
Everybody was like questioning.
Was.
Everybody was just questioning his spot on the Cloud9 roster. They're like, okay, yeah, Squishy is obviously the best player in the world, and Torment, we're happy with him now because Squishy likes him. But Gimmick, they were like, everybody's like, Gimmick, really? It's really funny. His name's Gimmick. People thought this has got to be a joke, right? They're going to pick up Lachinio again. It's like, Lachinio, please come back. Bring the alpha wheels. But anyway, Gimmick showed up, and he was so good. I thought he was, to me, the player who stood out the most on that team, or at least compared to what I expected from him, especially given the pressure that was on him. Like, trying to live up to everybody's expectations that they had on Cloud9.
Here's Johnny.
And, like, Gimmick is just, like, stone cold. Absolutely no nerves whatsoever. Torment just silently doing like all of the dirty work for that team. They really do have such a like perfect roles that they all play. Like Torment just filling all the gaps, and Squishy just being really good mechanically, and then Gimmick just honestly popping off a bit. I'd say more than Squishy sometimes. He's the one who is the surprise package that the other teams don't know what he's going to do, and it works so well. In fact, I'm more impressed these days by Squishy's mechanics in defense. I think he's so good at recovering. He takes people by surprise a lot, takes people out of the game. But yeah, we're kind of going on massive tangents here. I don't think that's a problem. But basically, from what I'm hearing, is that we're all going to pick Cloud9 here. Or at least that's what I'm hearing echoing around. Is this accurate, Yummy? Or are we all just going to be Cloud9 fans?
You can't pick anything else because of their previous matchups at LAN. Their previous matchups on an international stage, regardless of the level of performance, you can't use that because they're both they're both fairly new to RLCS. Right. They've both been to just as many LANs as each other. So I think it would be silly for anyone to bet against C9 in this match. Yeah.
I guess the other thing to talk about with this Espeon is who's going to score the best goal. Is it going to be Bluey or Gimmick? Who's going to score like the flashiest goal, or Squishy even? It could be.
There's a lot of
set as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for some insane solo goals in this series.
Yeah,
but
we might just see the best.
It's scary because they can play as a team as well. So
yeah.
I think Cloud9 better as a team. Yeah. PSG tend to score a lot of their goals off insane solo plays that aren't necessarily going to turn straight into a goal, but apply so much pressure and take so many people out of the game that eventually turns into a goal.
Yeah, I'll say Cloud9 wins 3-1 through solid teamwork, but Bluey scores the insane goal.
Oh, mate, you literally stole the words out of my mouth. I guess I just have to agree, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say Cloud9 3-1 with Bluey scoring goal of the tournament. Maybe not even in the game that they win. It might just be in, to take it to overtime in one of the games, and then Cloud9 score a kickoff goal because Bluey went for boost and Farah cheated. It's probably going to happen. Bluey's going to take it to overtime. The caster's going to be going crazy. Oh my goodness, Bluey! And the North American crowd is going to be going. And then like a kickoff goal for Cloud9. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I have to just stick to my guns. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Where we go here? Match 5, C9 moving forward, then loser of 5, PSG. It's rough. PSG really put themselves in a hole by losing the Mocket, getting reverse swept by Mocket. It's a really bad situation to put themselves in.
That's not only ruined their bracket, but it's ruined the bracket of the people below them, of everybody in that.
They've just ruined it for everybody.
Imagine being Method and NRG and being like, okay, if we lose, we get to go up against PSG, right?
Yeah, it's a really great prospect there. Really great prospect. But yeah, moving on. Last EU versus NA matchup in the quarterfinals. Method versus NRG. This is another matchup that we have seen before at Northern Arena. And this was the reverse sweep. The first time that Method got reverse swept. They were up 2-0, looking great. And then NRG just started clawing back and took the series. And it looked pretty controlled in the end. They won 3-2 in that one. And that's, I believe, their only matchup on a LAN setting, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody confirm? I think that's true. Yeah, because Method haven't been to any other lands. Right. I mean, unless you get Mets and Magnus going to that other 2v2 land. So it doesn't matter.
No, I don't count that.
But Yummy, talk to me about Method and NRG.
I think this is the NA versus EU matchup. I think this is the plays, the play styles as well. I think Method is really the team that idealizes the EU play style, and NRG is the team that sort of idealizes the NA play style. But interestingly enough, NRG hasn't changed much since previous lands, and that's why they were performing well last season and came third, is because they had a great play style. I don't know, because I feel like this is the number 2 team from each region. It's always going to be a close one. Northern Arena as well, you saw that they went incredibly close. And it might just come down, and we've said it time and time again, but there's not much that you can really judge off in a LAN, especially between NA and EU teams. It might just come down to the fact that NRG is so experienced of being in that situation so many times before, and it is the first matchup, which is always the hardest for an inexperienced team. It's the first match.
Is it a day 2 match as well?
That's the only reason I think NRG has a chance. No, this is a day 1 match.
It is a day 1 match. So this will be day 2 then. This and this.
I'm not sure if they've changed the format, but if it's the same as last season, then 3 and 5 will be day 2 matches.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Espeon, NRG. You're talking about, is this NA's chance to redeem themselves, to finally show that they're better than EU? Surely, if that is going to happen, NRG need to win here. How important is it for NA as a whole that they beat Method here? Because every LAN they go in with all the pressure. They're the number 1 team. This time they don't. Cloud9 are the number 1 team, but still, it's so important that they win here, right? For all of NA.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's exactly what I see when I look at that. They're both the teams that are probably not quite the number 1 team of the region, but they've been so solidly near the top or at the top. So, and they're both just very solid teams. And this really is the match that I look at and say, this is going to really tell us, EU, NA, who's really stronger right now. This is probably what I think is going to be the closest match out of these 4. But I don't know. I think it could really go either way, but I think NRG, having finally exercised their LAN demons last season, is going to not feel quite as nervous as they had after performing badly the first 2 seasons, and it's going to finally come out strong out of the gates. And I'm going to say they take it 3-2.
I think it's also a huge advantage to NRG that they're coming in. They only came 3rd last season, but more importantly, they haven't been at the top of the region. They're not the big regional hopes for North America. They don't have all that pressure on them. And that might also lead to their advantage. So I'm actually giving them a 3-2 as well, because I think, again, it could go either way.
Man, I guess we're all just going to copy each other today. I was going to say, we got to remember that they won 3-2 against Flipside last time without a reverse sweep, and I think the same thing's going to happen again. I mean, the NRG reverse swept Method at Northern. They didn't reverse sweep Flipside, but they won 3-2 at Season 3 LAN Day 1. I think it's going to be similar sort of story. Method are going to struggle out the gate because the crowd's going to be so NRG favored. They're obviously G2 and Cloud9, I think, are going to be the fan favorites, but NRG are a close third. They're going to be the top 3 teams that the fans are cheering for, and then Ghost are that other NA team that I think NA's not going to care so much about. I don't know. What is it, NA? What is it that you have against Ghost, The
important factor of having the crowd as well isn't for NRG, it's for Method. Because it's one of the most triggering things in the world when you're 3-0 up or you're 0-3 down and your opponents score a shit goal and the crowd just goes absolutely
mental.
nuts.
Oh.
And you're like, hello, we're here. You know, we're winning this. It's a shit goal. Come on. It's tilt central.
And speaking of like crowds, NA really needs to step up their game. Like I know you guys want to cheer for G2 and Cloud9. The thing to note though is that C9 and G2 are 2-syllable like names. I don't want to hear anybody going G2, 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 Cloud9 like we're in high school cheering for a basketball team. Just get some rhythm, you know. Just go listen to football teams who chant for double syllable teams and how they do it. Just don't. If I hear any of what I just did, that is embarrassing. It's the worst. Just don't start that, because people around you are going to be like, "Yep, that sounds good. Let's all chant like that." Yeah, and it's just going to be like, "Oh my goodness!" It just sounds so childish and terrible, and it's not going to last. NRG is easy because it's 3-syllable. And, you know, NA fans are used to cheering for TSM. They just, you know, chop and change the letters. NRG. But, man, it's got a lot of power to it. Or you're going G2, G2. It sounds like you're cheerleaders, right?
Yeah. I think Chiefs is even worse, the 1-syllable.
Chiefs. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Chiefs.
Pale horse. Oh, dear. It's some of these teams. Like, PSG's great. NRG's great. Everybody else, what are they thinking? Like, really, they really weren't thinking about crowds cheering for them when they made these organization names. It's going to be bad. You can although cheer for 2-syllable teams. You just need to not do it like that. Like what I did. Just, you know, get some clapping in there. Space it out.
For the people, how you want to do it?
Like the good old
right
G2.
Yeah.
Yeah, want to get a bit of that in there? That would be pretty decent. And you start that one off, everybody's gonna, like, the first time you do it, people will be like, who's this idiot clapping? What does he do? And then you just shout G2 at the end. They're like, yeah, and then they'll all join in, and it'll, you know, and then by that time G2 have probably got scored on, and you have to stop. But if you do it, you know, early enough in the series,
it never fails.
You can give it at least one run through. It'll be good. Same with Cloud9. You're gonna have a field day. They're probably gonna win here. So, you know, just have a great time doing your 2-syllable cheering for Cloud9. It's going to be great. But yeah, we all think Method are gonna drop here. So that's 2 NA teams moving in here. And Method lost 6, so they're going to go down here. We're all thinking full NA and full EU, which means we're going to have at least one NA and one EU in top 3. Yeah. One NA, one EU grand final. Or winner final. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're also, I think, there's a lot more variance here, in my opinion, than up here, in that PSG or Method could go through. And we could see a full EU top 4, which would be crazy, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, also, like, depending on what the order of the matches is, I think if Gale Force G2 is first, that's really bad for NA, and it might be first because it's at the top, because that's probably the one where EU are most likely to win. Right? What's that? Yeah, somebody said day 1. Somebody in chat said all these matches are day 1. Yeah,
I think we might be. I think they changed it so it's 6 matches on day 1. So it's these 6.
So
but I'm not sure.
If this one happens first, that's really bad for NA, because I think this is when the EU are most favored, and then NA is just going to be like, oh no, we're losing again, and then Mocket will beat Ghost, and then they're like, oh no, we really do suck at RLCS, and then Cloud9, if Cloud9 fall, like NRG, pack the bags, just don't even bother. You might as well leave, like, just go to loser bracket already. It's just over. So this is like really important that NA don't get too downhearted, I think, if it starts bad. I mean, if G2 win, NA all the way. That's like going to be, everybody's going to believe. They're going to think if G2 could beat Gale Force, we can easily win our games, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It also does expose the fact that day to day can really switch up a team and their momentum and how they run through the bracket. Like day 1, Northern Gaming were okay. Day 2, they got sharded on, but day 3, they just absolutely picked it up and went full force. And so you got to think about that, I think, in these predictions.
All right, without delaying any further, let's get into the first EU prediction. I don't think this one's going to take too much to figure out. Gale Force Mocket, still best of 5, I believe, up here. I don't think Mocket have even got a chance to take a game here. I think Gale Force just they just counter them style-wise.
Yeah.
Mucket are very much a team that try to sponge up pressure, and Gale Force love attacking sponges. I've seen them do it. I've seen K-Dop in person he's just absolutely gone at a sponge with a baguette. So there's just no hope for Mucket.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what Gale Force want in their opponents, and Mucket they're sponge personified. So I don't know. I don't see Espeon. Have you got any chance here for Mucket?
I don't think so. I think they've shown up at LAN before. I think they'll take a game, but I think Gale Force has this series. I agree.
This might be the first non-Mucket final. Final in a long time as well.
Yeah, true. Mucket, they're like they always come back, like a cockroach in an atomic bomb explosion. But moving on to Cloud9 versus NRG, the all NA matchup, the fan favorites just going out against you. And I actually want to ask Espeon, when two NA teams go up against each other, it's going to be super interesting to hear what the crowd do.
Yeah,
because they're just going to pick one. That's the other thing about NA crowd, is they don't cheer at all for their team that they're not supporting. They're just like, oh no, I can't cheer for the team because then my team might be sad and they might lose more. So what happens then?
Yeah, I think both of these teams have enough fans that it's not going to be like dead silent for either of them. I think enough people have kind of hopped on the C9 bandwagon that they're going to have the most support here.
More than G2? You really think so?
Within G2.
In this matchup.
Right,
okay, got you.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I follow.
I think G2 probably still has the advantage there because it's just been that's the one constant of Rocket League, right?
Yeah.
That people that G2 or whatever team Kronovi's on gets a lot of support. But
imagine if it was like Kronovi, Rizzo, and Sizz. Oh my goodness, it would be insufferable.
Yeah.
The chat would just be like Mountain all day, baby. And actually, Rizzo doesn't even have a meme. I don't know what they would say for Rizzo. Baby Rizzo? I don't know. But anyway, back to the Cloud9 Energy. Like, are the crowd going to be at all behind Energy in this one?
I think they'll have a decent amount of support. Energy's been an NA crowd favorite for so long. You know, a ton of people still love them, but I think Cloud9 will have the most support. And I think Cloud9 also, they're so solid, and they've faced Energy plenty of times. They're not going to get caught off guard. Both teams are super solid, but I think Cloud9 is just so good right now. I'm gonna put this one at 3-1 as well. But I think it's going to be a pretty close 3-1, closer than Gale Force Mucket. But
yeah, I think these two teams obviously have a lot of history against each other. C9 at the moment taking down NRG. If this was day one, match one, I think it could go a different way. But for now, I'm actually thinking it's going to be a close series, but C9 are going to take it.
All right, I'm in agreement with C9 taking it for sure. And I can't say 3-0, so I have to agree with one of you. Who's it going to be? Oh, my goodness. I could just ask my chat to spam 1 or 2. That would be the easiest out for here. But I don't know. I think that when they matched up recently, did they match up at Northern LAN? I don't think they did.
No.
No, they didn't, did they?
No, Energy lost early to PSG and then made a big losers bracket run, but not far enough.
Have they ever world champs?
So then have they ever played in LAN? Because C9 didn't play Energy at DreamHack, I don't think. Did they? I think they were opposite sides of the bracket, were they not? Because
let me check.
I'll go.
Cloud9 beat Gale Force, and I think Gale Force beat Energy in semis, and Cloud9 beat G2. Yeah, they were opposite. So they've actually never matched up on LAN then, right? They've never matched up on LAN.
Yeah.
Oh no, they actually did play. They played.
Oh, they did. Garrett says they got 3-0 by Muffin.
Yeah, they got 3-0. Yeah.
Oh, of course, because Energy didn't make it. In my head, Energy were making semis, but no, that's not true. They didn't do that. They got swept. So, see, that's interesting, because if that's their only time that they've met before,
that's also such a long time ago. Honestly, I wouldn't even look at DreamHack.
I don't know. Garrett was the first person to remember. Like, we're all thinking, everybody's in agreement. They've never played before. And Garrett's like, actually, we lost 3-0. We've lost to them before. It's happened. So it's clearly not out of his mind. No, I'm just kidding. But I still think C9 they're the favorites here. They're just looking so good in NA. The only team that beat Cloud9 in league play was G2. Cloud9 beat NRG in league. They beat them in the playoffs. They didn't have to play them in Northern, but I think they're going to beat them again in RLCS. I'm going to give NRG 2 games. I think they're They're gonna make this really close. I think it's gonna be a very, very good series.
I
But
wouldn't be surprised by NRG making a big win here, a big upset.
this could totally be like an overtime game 5. That's one of those series that could definitely go overtime game 5 between these guys, just all the way down to the wire.
The question is, how would it be? How would you think Espeon if it was C9 versus Method?
It's a good question. You should be the host. So, let's go to Yummy stream. It's a good question.
See, that's a bit more because C9 hasn't played Method nearly as much, so then there's more adaptation on both sides than there is in this series. But
And it was a very close series at Northern between the two.
right.
It was not the reverse sweep, was it? Or was it? It was. Didn't Method got reverse swept twice, right? I'm pretty sure they did. They got reverse swept by Cloud9, then they also got reverse swept by NRG. So they're just getting reverse swept by everybody.
Too. Yeah.
Method were ahead though. Like I think in game 3 as well, right? They were like, it looked like they were just gonna win, and then they decided, no, let's just not win. Let's just lose.
I feel like I'd have to go and rewatch that series to like get a better feel for how they stack up. I think that'd be a close one. But Cloud9 has looked like we were saying earlier about, teams not even having had LAN experience, they don't look like, the like stone cold killers. But if anyone's looked like a stone cold killers at the LAN they've been to, it's C9. They've just been.
Have you seen that really funny like what is it I think it's just not a GIF. It's just like a picture of Torment just looking at Squishy after Squishy scored like a really sick goal, and Squishy's just looking like he's fallen asleep in his chair, and Torment's like, whoa.
It's actually one of two methods, right? Because you have those people who get incredibly hyped up, and I think Chiefs.
Yeah, that works for some people.
A big example of this. They tried that at the last RLCS. They were like, let's hype up, but it's Jake who sits there and just is a complete robot.
Yeah.
That's why he's called Bot Jake, and it's not because he's really bad and he misses the ball and it's terrible, but it's because he's just unemotional, unfeeling, and they all want to switch to the unfeeling, unemotional, ignore everything in the world and just play Rocket League. I think that works really well. So C9 have a big advantage there, and NRG have a sort of mix because they have Jacob who likes to play off the crowd, but I don't think Garrett and Fireburner do.
Yeah,
that's true. They do have a bit of a mix in personalities there.
When do you think Squishy's just gonna like randomly, do something stupid for the camera? No one's gonna see it coming. Like when he does it, everybody's gonna fall off their chair. It's just gonna be like chilling as usual, and he's gonna do the dumbest face of all time at the camera. He's probably never done that before. Do you think Squishy's ever like done that in a mirror in his life? Do you think he's ever practiced that, like, for the moment when it happens? He's just, like, sitting at home doing his, like, his usual face. He's just, like, chilling. Then he just looks at the camera with you guys can't see me, but he just starts looking at the camera. He's like, no, that was bad. I'll try again. He'll master it, though. Like, obviously, he's a grinder. He'll figure it out. He'll come up with the best, like, stupid
put in
face.
The hours.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna...
He always has such a big personality online. The fact that it doesn't come through on LAN is surprising. But if it does happen, it's in this 3-2 game 5 overtime up against NRG, right?
Yeah.
Same thing as like Cuxia last season where he just
get up out of his chair.
Just, like, dead. Yeah.
Just be like, oh my goodness, I'm so good. Can you feel how good? He's just like, he's got this aura of brilliance. He's like, can you feel it? And his teammates are like, you're like too hot to touch. But anyway, moving on. We're going to actually continue talking about Cloud9, but this time against Gale Force, a matchup which is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
Last match of day 2 or something like that too, right?
And they go back to DreamHack. Yeah,
no, this is day 3.
Oh, yeah, it's day 3. This will be delayed.
Best of 7, right?
Yeah, best of 7. And this match has happened before at DreamHack Atlanta, where Cloud9 won it. It was super close, but they managed to take it. I think it was 3-2 or 4-3. It was definitely one game in it in the grand finals with these exact same rosters. They didn't match up at the Northern LAN because PSG and Ghost eliminated Gale Force. But this is probably what we think is going to happen. So, Espeon, first of all, is this the first time that NA, we're not including season 1, but the first time in 3 seasons where NA get into that final, and it's not just a all EU affair where the NA fans are resident sleepering.
Yeah, I think there's a very good shot at it here. Cloud9, like you mentioned, Gale Force against Mach. Gale Force plays really well against sponges. Cloud9's like an elastic sponge. You throw it at them, they're gonna like find some crazy save and just counterattack it at you. They're not just going to let you keep. They're not going to give you the same space like that. But I mean, Gale Force, they're so fast. They always have the potential to make these crazy plays. But I think Cloud9 has been so solid.
They're a solid elastic sponge.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly. They're not
What I'm really looking at is just
gas.
Whoever comes through this bottom bracket just is going to be proven to be a great team. Gale Force, even if they get to this point, they haven't really proven anything, right? Compared to what we're saying with
Very
the top
true. Yeah.
4 of the top 5 down the bottom bracket. Whoever comes through is going to be hot. They're going to be ready. And so even if you remove both Gale Force and C9 as names there, you have to give it to that bottom team every single time.
Because Gale Force have only beaten Free2 and Mocket. Which is a meme I don't hear anywhere near enough, by the way. It's so easy. Every team have some like letter in their name that rhymes with free. It's brilliant. There's Free2, and you got like PS Free, Free9, NR Free.
That's the easiest one. Just like,
Free SM,
the other
Free
team
LG.
took 3.
They're all out there. But I think I agree with Yummy. I think Cloud9 are going to be so confident after this run that they've had, and Gale Force
through PSG and NRG.
Yeah, like Gale Force are super. They're a team that when they're confident they'll do well, but when they're not confident, they're going to be kind of like, what do we do? This is probably the only. I think C9 might be the only team in the world. Perhaps I think Method as well, maybe that can make Gale Force think that they're not the favorites. Don't know if you guys agree with that statement. Like Gale Force might go into this and they'll be like, "Okay, guys, we need to play our A game because if we don't, then we're just gonna lose." Like
Right,
I think
they
this
have
is
to
one of the
respect
two
C9.
teams, like C9 and Method, who can make Gale Force be like, "Okay, we really need to play here, or else we're done."
I don't think Gale Force are going to be extremely confident after their loss at Northern Arena early on to Ghost. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be confident at any point at this, and for the same reason they haven't proven themselves.
And
How
I
many
agree,
games
they do
then are
need
you
to
giving
be
them?
confident.
This is sounding like the Cloud9 show once again. So Espeon, how many games would you give Gale Force, and like what part of the series are they going to get them, do you think?
I'll put it at a 4-2. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means. I think it's going to be one of those series that's kind of scattered throughout, but I think Cloud9 ends up pulling through. Probably take the first game and probably never really drop the lead in the series, but
I think
David.
first game is going to be incredibly crucial. I think if Gale Force do get that first game, it's going to be massive for them. Less so for C9. They're probably not going to be too worried either way. But Gale Force getting that early momentum and putting C9 on the back foot will make a big difference.
Sorry, did you say what the score was going to be?
Still going to be 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give it like a bit more one-sided. I think 4-1. And I think that Cloud9 are going to start strong. They're going to drop a close game, like probably after going 3-0 up, and then they're going to close it. I think this is just going to be like Cloud9, the crowd are just going to be so behind them, and Gale Force are just not going to be themselves. I think they have a chance to bounce back, but this is going to be their first like real test at the LAN, and they're just not going to be ready, I don't think. Because remember, it took Northern Gaming quite a long time. Like their first real test was their first game against NRG, and they got smashed. And then it took them a long time to really, a lot of series before they started looking like the same team on stage that they did backstage.
It wasn't until day 3. I mean, they sort of crunched through day 2 with Turbo Pulsar carrying them, but it was day 3 that all of them picked up and knew what they were doing, and they actually changed their play style as well.
Yeah, and like the Gale Force isn't like a Northern game, and they got Turbo, but K. Panda is a really different combination to Remco Devo. Very different. I'd say better right now, but even in like Remco Devo, Peak is a super different kind of dynamic to Panda K-Dop. Did I just move somebody? I don't think I moved anything. Okay, but yeah, it's gonna be really hard. I don't know if they're like a comeback team either. Like they have made comebacks in the past, but like you don't come second as many times as they have, while being like, you know, a clutch comeback team. You know what I mean? It's just, it's hard to predict. Oh, did you make that green for me? You did. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
He's done it.
Oh, you've even put Cloud9 in the final and Gale first time here. You're way ahead of me. But yeah, what we're going to do now, we've done 9 matches. That means we've got 9 left to predict. So we're going to take a really quick break so everybody can grab a drink and maybe run to the bathroom. You guys feel free to do the same. I've just got like tons of drinks here, so I don't need to do anything. But you guys, we're going to take 5 before we continue. And then we'll pick up where we left off in the loser bracket, and we'll go all the way through to the end. And we'll see what happens. But look at that, Cloud9 in the final. Beautiful. They've never looked better. It's exactly where they belong.
It's very interesting that we've been very. I think there's a lot of agreement.
2 times.
Here.
There's 2 times that there's been disagreement. You thinking Chiefs are going to go over G2, and Espeon thinking Gus are going to go over Mucket. So
I think this is also these 2 are very important matches that could go either way.
Oh, I was so annoyed when you guys both said exactly what I wanted to say for this. Like, even saying 3-1 and Blue will score the best goal in the tournament, I was like, are you kidding me? I was literally going to say that. But
I think of all people, I would be very happy to switch PSG and C9 here in this match.
Yeah.
But like it's just kind of I'm making what I think is the best prediction, not what I necessarily will 100%.
We're doing the Gibbs prediction, not the Axel Toss prediction.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it comes down to like C9 has shown that they can perform at these smaller lands, I'll call them, but if they can bring that to RLCS, which by the way they've performed and how they look at those lands, it seems like they'll be able to. Assuming they can bring that good mentality and just go into it, take care of business, I think they're looking really strong. But if the added pressure of RLCS gets to them, that's the way I would see them faltering a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's I'm going to like minimize this so I can't see it. I'm going to like catch, I think there's a couple of subs that I missed. Who did I miss here? Yeah, we'll be back with predictions in a couple of minutes, guys. All right, are you ready to get back into this?
I'm ready.
This probably won't take as long. We were doing a lot of intro stuff for every team, but we've already talked about every team, so we'll just probably crunch through this second half and then see. I think there's going to be more disagreements here as well, which should be fun. But match number 10, Chiefs are back. We talked about them first of all, and Yummy thought they were going to beat G2, but he's going to have to talk about them in loser bracket because that's how we're going to do this. This is like our bracket, right? Yummy's bracket would look different than this because he'd have Chiefs going all the way through to winners and then winning the whole thing. But because me and Espeon think G2 are going to beat them, we're going to talk about this matchup just for the sake of saving some time. And sometimes you have to do this when you're doing
the hive mind bracket.
Yeah, this is the EJY bracket. But Yummy, Chiefs versus Method. If this does happen in the hypothetical universe where this matchup does occur, do you think Chiefs have a chance?
Not really. I'm just going to go straight out and say that whether it's Method or NRG in this match, I think for the OCE teams, NRG is more scary than maybe any of the other teams from NA. But it all goes down to speed of execution, and I don't know if Chiefs is going to be able to match Method's speed. And one of the big reasons for their success at the last season is that they were playing faster than the NA teams. They were playing faster than Denial. And even though it caused a lot of misses, it just shut down a lot of the stuff that they were doing. Against Method, it's going to be incredibly tough. I think there's an ever so slight chance, but like it's so slight that you may as well say it's none. And it's the same if G2 are down here. I don't think anyone who loses round 1 is going to not lose round 10.
Yeah, so like whoever comes out of this matchup is winning here.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry, you can't see
So-
what I'm... Well, I guess you can't see what I'm doing if you look at the
Yeah, no, I saw.
bracket, yeah.
But
Espeon, what do you
yeah.
think? Method
Yeah,
Chiefs.
It's got to be Method. I think it's unfortunate that Chiefs, being probably the strongest team and the most well-tested team from OCE, gets the harder part of the bracket going down to them. But that's the way the bracket
Well,
worked out.
no, because
so.
they're going to win number 1, so then they actually get thrown
They get an
down
easier
here into
bracket.
13, which is much
Right.
easier.
Yeah, they have pretty much a free road.
You
to
just
grand
don't
final
ever-
where they,
You don't want to be on this side of winner's bracket, and then you don't want to be on this side, because then you have like
right.
crash.
Losing is that much more painful on that side. Yeah. But yeah, I think Method takes this one. I'll say 3-0 as well.
I will agree with Yummy. I think that although I said G2 are going to win 3-0, I don't think that's going to be like 3-5-0. I think it's going to be close games, but G2 are just going to eke it out in all of them and just make it through just because they're more consistent individually. And the crowd, I think, is going to help them a lot. And I think they're training hard as well. It's not just Chiefs who are boot camping. But I think Chiefs are more likely to upset G2 than they are Method. I think we're all in agreement there. I think Method are just going to be too consistent, too fast, just too talented. That means
Same
that
as if
they'll lead on
NRG
here.
are down here. I think NRG are very similar in
Yeah.
their ability to beat Chiefs. I think actually NRG will have a better chance against Chiefs than Method, because I think NRG are going to be more consistent.
Yeah, they're
against-
less likely to
against
just
the
choke
teams.
and.
So if this
randomly
was
play bad.
NRG down here, I'd give it a 3-0 to NRG, but
That's
Method
fair.
have a definite chance of playing inconsistent.
And I'm worried now about Pale Horse Yummy, because we only managed to get a 1 out of you in the winner bracket in favor of Pale Horse. So
This is obviously a much more favorable match for Pale Horse. It still goes down to 2 teams playing quite a similar style, a very similar matchup. And the problem is that Ghost are more experienced and better mechanically on an individual level, and Pale Horse tend to struggle at the beginning of the LAN. It's going to be day 2, but I don't know. So for Pale Horse, you have Kami, who is just absolutely consistently one of the best. Funnily enough, he actually got less MVPs than his teammates. Kia, who got 7 in league play, and Kami got 4. But he still had the second highest score per game in the entire league, just 2 points behind Torsos, who's on 304. And it's because Kami is so consistently good. But on LAN, you can lose that. We saw him in the regional championship not perform at the best until the qualifying matches, which is when he just took his team and carried them through to LAN, or through to RLCS, I should say. And but if Kami and Kia are both at the top of the game, CJ playing, I think he's reasonably solid across the board. If they are on the top of their game, then they can put it to Ghost. I just don't think they're going to be on the top of their game in their first ever RLCS.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I think like everybody knows I'm gonna predict Ghost to win here. The one question I do want to ask both of you guys, but Yummy first, is if we swapped Chiefs and Pale Horse here, would you give the series to Chiefs over Ghost? If that matchup, let's say that matchup happens somewhere at LAN, Chiefs versus Ghost, who do you give it to? Because you thought the Chiefs would beat G2. What about Ghost?
Well, the theory is that this is the Chiefs versus Ghost match. It's match number 13.
Yeah,
So
right.
it is an important thing to discuss. I think this is another close match. I actually put Ghost slightly ahead of G2. I think it's slightly more favored to Ghost over Chiefs. But I still think it's a very close series between Chiefs and Ghost. Remembering that I said that I probably understand Ghost probably the least out of all of the teams, but I don't think they've been incredibly consistent. They've just had big highs and sort of low lows. So I think it would be another 50-50. I'd probably give it to Chiefs if I was on the desk, just because I think it's important to really champion the OC region and be optimistic.
What do you think about the crowd in that matchup? Because we saw, for anybody wondering why we're talking about this, is because it may happen. If Chiefs can upset G2, then they're probably going to lose to Gale Force, and that would put Chiefs here and then Ghost would probably beat Pale Horse and move on to face them. So that's what we're talking about this. It could happen. It really definitely could happen, and it's an interesting one. But who do you think the crowd would favor, Espeon, if Chiefs play Ghost? Because Ghost probably the NA team with the least fans and the newest names, I guess, compared to G2, C9, and Energy. And Chiefs are formerly Alpha Sydney. We saw the crowd really get behind them last season. Do you think that could happen again? And Chiefs could actually get more of the fans cheering for them, especially if they go down and then the fans are like, "Come on, OCE, don't just lose all the matches."
Right. Well, in this hypothetical, they've also already beaten G2, which may have rustled.
Oh, of course, it's angered people. Yeah.
But I think that would also make some people be like, "Wow, this OCE team is really good. They have a good shot to make a run." So I think they might get a pretty decent amount of support. I think both teams would be getting a pretty decent amount. I don't think it would be a heavily crowd favored match on either side, but
I don't know.
I don't know how to predict that very well.
I think that Chiefs, if they'd make it against Ghost, are going to be real. I think Pale Horse might even have the crowd here against Ghost. I think they really could. Like, the crowd might really be behind them here just because they'll want OCE to do really well.
I think they'll also be big fans of Pale Horse eventually if they can show their personality.
if they show up their personalities like you say that they have, then that could really be a thing. I think Pale Horse might just get carried a little bit by the crowd here. I'm not giving OCE any games though.
What are the main differences in play between Chiefs and Pale Horse?
Hold on a second. See, Savage is asking a question to Yummy. What's the main difference playstyle-wise between Pale Horse and Chiefs? Before you answer, just want to say no more questions as well. If you ask any more questions, guys, I'll just say this now. We'll get back to them later. But I knew I was going to have to talk over spam, so I'm just going to say that right now. You just roll 1,044,444. Nearly done. Okay, there we go. Yummy, what's the main difference between Chiefs and Pale Horse playstyle-wise? In
playstyle wise, I mean, so first you have to just say that Chiefs are obviously the most experienced team. They've won every single LAN in OCE this year, and that's about, I think that's 5 LANs in a row.
Yeah,
they're the champions of that. They've lost some online tournaments, but outside of that, they are the LAN boys. The huge difference is that Pale Horse are just about constant aggression and trying to move the ball forward and then get a very quick pass in front of net over and over again. They're pretty predictable in that, and then in defense, they're always looking to go onto offense. So Pale Horse are constantly looking for every single intercept. They're very good at shutting down passes, which is another reason why they're probably going to do poorly against PSG, because PSG can score goals without passes. And instantly turn it on the attack. They're a bit inconsistent, but playstyle wise, that's what they're about. They're about aggression. Chiefs are probably quite the opposite. They're very good at the defense. They hold things in the midfield, as in they're great at shutting down any kind of attack, getting a lot of 50-50s and challenges in the midfield, and then converting in a 3v2 or just getting a good mix-up on their attack. Chiefs aren't powerful because of their ability to be insane or do crazy things like PSG. They're very good mechanically, but their attack just has a lot of mix-ups. They're very unpredictable in the fact that they can do a lot of different things. They're good at all areas. They don't really have a lot of weaknesses, and all 3 of them are great all around the pitch, so they all are able to rotate really nicely.
So hopefully, Savage, that answers your question. Your question. If it doesn't, then we'll take more questions at the end. So fear not. But we still have 7 more matches to discuss. So let's continue on. First with Method PSG, another full EU affair, and PSG, the number 1 or the best performing team from Europe at the Northern Arena. But they match up against Cloud9 early here, so we all put them here losing. And Method, we all have them narrowly losing to NRG to put them in this matchup also, well, after beating Chiefs. So I'm going to start off this one actually by saying that I think PSG, it all goes back to getting reverse swept by Mocket in that third place match in EU. I think that was the end of their LAN right there, because that put them in this bottom half where they have to face Cloud9, then they have to face either Method or NRG in this side of losers, and I don't think they're going to get past either. I think that they're a team that need a little bit of time to get going, and like losing early is going to hurt them a lot. I think they benefited like greatly from, you know, early wins and managing to beat Gale Force, who didn't really show up to Northern Arena, and then trying to carry on that momentum, actually doing quite well against Cloud9 in the initial grand final series. But Method, I don't know, I think Method are maybe just going to end it all for PSG right here. Espeon, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. It is brutal for PSG having this kind of bracket. Like you're saying, you know, two of them have not been to an RLCS LAN, and Farah, well, he has the experience of one RLCS LAN, he has not been a veteran of the scene. But not many people even knew who he was coming into Season 3, really. So I do think they probably would have needed some more time to warm up and sort of make a run. And Method is just such a good team. I think they're going to be able to put that run down before it's able to happen.
All right, Yummy, what do you think Method PSG? All EU affair.
It's tough. It's really tough. Historically, they've gone pretty close with each other. In league play, if I recall, it was a 3-2 to PSG. And I don't know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Sure. It's very close. They're both fairly new teams here on. I think this is still day 2 here. You need to win 2 matches to get into. Into day 3. You need to win 2 matches. Right. Like I think whoever. Let's put it this way. I think whoever wins this match is going into the lower bracket final. I think this could potentially have been the lower bracket final match, or this match, the 4th place match to get into the lower bracket final. And it's just the way that this bracket has ended up, or with PSG coming in 4th.
Yeah.
That has caused this situation. I don't know. I think you just again have to go kind of safe and just say, well, PSG performed the best in the last LAN, both in similar situations. And I'd give it ever so slightly in the favor of PSG, but it's got to be really close. Another 50-50.
I think what tips it for me, because it is really close, and you know, I agree, PSG do have the LAN form coming in, and they have Farah, who's been in an RLCS stage before. Method have got nobody who's been in an RLCS stage before. Well, I guess a lot was there in Season 1 celebrating after IBP won, but it doesn't really count. But what Method have that PSG don't is you're going to come into this matchup fresh off a win. PSG have just lost. And this, I think, is PSG's first game of this day, because they're going to have lost to Cloud9 day 1. Then they come in and that's all they've done. They beat Pale Horse and they lost. Whereas Method had a probably close series with NRG, and then they beat Chiefs. And I think that's going to be a much better mentality to have a foundation on. That is alone is for me what just tips it in Method's favor, and I have them 3-2 for that reason. But I don't grudge you putting it 3-2 for PSG. That's totally fine. But yeah. I think I just continue to. This is right now my bracket. By the way, I've been on the right side, or the winning side, of every dispute so far. There have been 3, so for now this is my bracket. Long may it continue, but maybe I think it could all change here. I have no idea what you guys are going to say about this one, so I'm going to hear both of you. First of all, Espeon, all NA,
okay.
Ghost G2. The history, of course, you maybe want to tell that to people. About this 2 team. Where are they going into this?
So G2 beat Ghost in the final week of league play and forced Ghost to go through the bracket. But then Ghost came in and they just beat G2. They just went right through them into the finals. And then they played again at the Northern Arena Invitational, and Ghost won that one as well. So, Ghost coming in on a bit of a higher note, and I think having won those series, I think that might give them the confidence to be able to take this one.
What was the Northern Arena score? I forget.
3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that does ring a bell. 3-1.
So, and that
was in the
and
laggy
a
LAN
4-1
build.
in.
Funnily enough.
Yeah. Okay, but it's still 4-1 in regional playoffs as well. Whereas
Yeah, that was
their
crushing.
replay match was a 3-2. So I'm going to give this one to Ghost 3-2. I think they're going to have the confidence, having played them a couple of times, having some good results against them.
I think an interesting question here as well is whether Ghost are boot camping, because I'm almost certain that G2 are boot camping. They started yesterday. So I think
The Ghost aren't boot camping. Classics is in the stream chat right now. What is he doing?
You could be anywhere on the internet and watch a stream, so it's not like
He's just typing with his toes and like gaming with his hands. They're boot camping right now. No, I know what you mean. They could be.
That is what will give G2 a bit of an advantage. I think they haven't been playing so much since the end of league play, but they can make that up with the boot camp. It might be very close, but I think with Espeon has to be correct in saying that it is Ghost's game to lose, essentially.
Oh wow. This is gonna be the one where I have to go against you guys. This is it. This is no longer gonna be my bracket, because I think G2 are gonna take it just purely based on like the crowd is gonna be so much in their favor.
Crowd will be
like,
behind them, yeah.
Ghost coming in, we look at where they've come from versus Mocket, they probably have the crowd behind them. Pale Horse, I don't know. The crowd might like give Pale Horse a little bit of cheers to be like, yeah, come on OCE, don't just all fall over and die just yet. But really be kind of cheering for Ghost mainly. And then this is just gonna be like all G2. It's going to be so G2 favored, and like Classics has not performed well at LAN yet. Like Zane Jackie did pretty good at Amsterdam, but I don't remember any team like super hard cheering against them. Even in the Flipside series, there's still a lot of people cheering for Take 3, both the Flipside series. And then like Lethamir, I don't know. He's the kind of player that he's got a very unique way of thinking about Rocket League. And I think that's one of the reasons why he is so good. Is he just looks at things like he'll see a situation, and somebody might look at that same situation and think, oh yeah, you could do it like this or you could do it like this. It's just a matter of personal preference. But Lethamir is going to be like, nah, this is how we're supposed to do things. And I don't know, when things start to go wrong, it might just be a disaster for this team. I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling about this team when the crowd goes against them. That's just what came into my head when I thought about this matchup, and I could really see it happening. The Northern Arena and the playoffs for G2, obviously they got smashed. Go smash them. But that's how much I think the crowd is going to do for G2 here. And we saw it, like Cronovia in Season 1, like was entirely different animal on the RLCS stage because the crowd was so loud. Like a crowd that's way, way louder than Northern Arena crowd, right? So I don't know. For me, I think G2 are just going to have that purely based on the Twitch chat. The Twitch chat memes. They're going to be going wild. But yeah, I have to give it 3-2. In favor of G2.
Are you sure it's not just a meme that everyone loves G2 that much?
Maybe. Do you think it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's genuine love there. Well,
I think there's some of both.
I think if you went back a season or two, definitely 2 seasons ago, you'd 100% be like, yeah, G2 crowd favorites. But
you don't think they're going to be like massive crowd favorites here? I think it's going to be so one-sided.
I'm not huge. Sure. Or like against Ghost, probably.
I think actually having another NA team against him will amplify it, because then the G2 fans will be like, okay, now we really have to, let G2 know that we've got their backs.
I also just think they've got to that point where they have this, what is it? Like the thought, or everyone thinks that everyone loves G2 so much that they cheer against G2 because they're like, oh, they're the crowd favorite.
Maybe
I think I noticed that a lot. People get sick of the G2 hype.
There's definitely some of that. It just feels like at RLCS especially, there's going to be more, because there's a higher volume of fans as opposed to some of the other lands where only the people who are like really into the scene go out, right? So
do you reckon we're going to hear any like one syllable, like just Ghost chants where people are clapping and saying Ghost on every clap? Oh my goodness. I'm actually going to just mute the stream the second I hear that. The Ghost clap, right? Ghost, ghost, go. Oh my. If that happens. Oh no. Please, NA, don't do this to me. Like, I think it's good that it lands in NA, but my goodness, the NA fans don't know how to chant. It's just
need to get
embarrassing.
Team Rocket into the crowd.
Yeah, we do. We just need Team Rocket over there. What have we got here? So yeah, we're making some progress here. Right now we have Ghost moving on here because majority vote, and Method moving on here again, majority vote. We've had Dispute in 2 of those matches. Guys, no, don't spam Ghost clap. Don't do it. It's making me cringe right now just thinking about it. It's so like when I see
Johnny,
that, I'm
you're
just like,
biased
what are these
against
people
Ghost
doing?
Clap. Jeez.
I just don't know, because as somebody who's been to a lot of football games, like actual football, not hand egg football games in the past, seen like proper cheering and proper chants. It's just something else to go from that to a gaming convention where people just have never done this before in their life. They've never.
Yeah.
Usually, you take people who are usually spamming memes in Twitch chat and you put them in a live audience, and you're like, okay, now cheer in person, and they're like, well, I don't know what to do. Okay, I guess we're clapping and saying the team name. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, good job, boss. And everybody back home is just like, what are they doing? And they're spamming memes. But moving on, Method Mocket. We have another full EU, and we'll get to another full NA. We've got it's funny, starting into the NA bracket and the EU bracket, and they're going to clash here. But guys, Method Mocket.
Yeah.
Yummy, you can go first on this one. And this has happened. This matchup did happen in EU. Recently, it was Method and Mocket who played for the first versus fourth. Was it? No. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was for first versus fourth. They played first of all in the what do you call it? EU playoffs, and it was close. It was very close, in fact. Yeah. It was, I think, 3-2, and Method eked it.
Very close, but I think if Method have beaten PSG, then I think they have a much better chance against Mocket. Again, I think anyone who goes through and wins match number 12 is going to make it all the way through to match number 17. And whoever does get out of this really tough matchup is probably going to win. Mocket hasn't had any tough competition at this point. Well, they have, but they've lost to Gale Force. And I think this is a pretty safe bet here, which puts me in a very safe Method 3-1 corner.
Yeah, I was thinking the same with the 3-1 here. I think Method, like you said, they've gone through tougher in this one. They've gone through a tough loss to NRG, a tough win over PSG. They eke it out. They're ready to go. Mocket's just coming off of a pretty bad loss to Gale Force. So I think Method can capitalize on that momentum, and I think they're just a little bit better of a team.
Bam. Oh wait, I'm not typing in the right chat. I typed in Twitch chat by mistake. 3-0. I'll type in Twitch chat as well. 3-0. I don't know if Method are going to be stopped by Mocket here at all. I think that they're just going to come so strong at the gate. Yeah, wrong tab. I'm such an idiot. I think they're just going to come out so hot, and this time Mocket aren't going to have any like reverse sweep. Like, for Mocket reverse sweep to happen, they need to get like their foot entrenched in something. It's like when they're doing tug of war and you start losing, but then you dig your heels in, and then you can stop the other team from pulling, and then you start pulling back. But I don't know if they're ever going to get to dig their heels in. Method are just so hard to stop. We're going to probably see some crazy goals in this match from a lot as well. And I'm not just saying that because I accidentally forgot they didn't win 4-2, not 3-2. Like, I was going to say that anyway. But yeah, I think a lot is probably going to score another off the ceiling redirect against Mocket here, and make it 3-0.
Was that the best goal of the season? That one was pretty insane. I really loved the Devo off the corner.
Yeah, Devo off the corner was pretty nuts. That was probably the best read. I don't know how he managed to know the ball was going to go there. I think a lot off the ceiling might have been the best one. Yeah. Or, I mean, you got to always give a shout out to the Cuxer pinch because it's just so unique. Like, how does he just does it so consistently? It's incredible. No one else does that at all. I've not seen anybody score a pinch from defense in the longest time, and he has done it multiple times.
I had a nice pinch in the top corner when I had like 200 hours. I
you're just like,
on the other
bam.
side of the field. It went right in the top left corner.
Yeah, and you're just like,
Still my best goal I ever scored.
I'm amazing.
Hours later.
Well, the best part, if anybody hasn't seen Jazer's video recently about, like, of course you've all seen it. Everybody watches Jazer's videos. He's got way too many views. Don't give him any more views. I take it back. But if anybody hasn't seen the video which he did with Mystic and Cuxer from Gfinity, like Jazer back passed it to Cux, and Cuxer's like, great pass, and then just does the pinch off a pass, and it just goes in, and he's like, yes, the pass was perfect. You can just tell. He's like, oh yes, I can pinch this into the net. This has happened before. I've gone through this in my mind, and he just nails it. I don't know where that accent was, so forget about that. But we have how many matches left? 4 matches left. We're into Ghost Energy. For the record, I want to say that I don't think it matters who comes out of this match, Ghost G2. Yep. I think Energy will beat either of them. Don't know if you guys would agree with that statement. Yummy, what do you think about that?
I think that's a pretty safe bet. I think Ghost has a better chance against Energy than G2. But they both beat Energy, I'm pretty sure, in league play. Let me just have a quick check.
Yeah, Energy lost to all of their rivals in league play.
Yeah, so Energy online this season had a pretty bad season. But they've performed fairly well at LAN. And so right now it's about who's the better team versus who is the better LAN team. I actually think that it's very easy argument to say that Energy versus both G2 and Ghost, if this was online, would very likely go against NRG. But it's very hard to predict against them on LAN. Hell, at Northern Arena, Energy took down Ghost in 3-1. So it's still pretty close. It could go either way, but I think I'm going to go off the most recent result and give them another 3-1.
Espeon, what you reckon?
I think the same way. Energy, they've been to all the LANs. They've gotten better every LAN. I think they're a super solid team. I don't think anything's really going to get to them here. I think they're just going to push through. And I'll give it a 3-1, but a close 3-1. I never know. Like, there's a lot of...
If Ghost are playing well, and if they do get here and they play well against G2,
coming off that win will help them.
Yeah,
but I think Energy is just a little too solid here.
Yeah, and the other question is they could be going up here against Method if they were to beat Mocket round 1, which is definitely possible. In which case, that's like I think a definite loss.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. If Method beat Energy and winners, yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
No. If Ghost beat
Market, okay.
Up here. Match.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. I don't know. I don't think like this is my 3-0 prediction here is exactly the same as my 3-0 prediction up here. I don't think that G2 are going to go into the mines or go into the Chief Series trying to smash them. I think they're going to play like really safe, and that's why they're going to win 3-0. And I think Energy are going to do the exact same thing to Ghost or G2. They're just going to go in, play really safe, be less nervous, make less mistakes, and just win 3 games that are all going to be close games, but they're all going to be wins for Energy. That's what I think is going to happen. And barring like something silly happening, like a pinch goal to kick things off, or like Energy having terrible kickoff strategies, which they rarely do. They usually have very well thought out kickoff strategies. Then I can't see Ghost taking a game against Energy. It just is going to be the Energy consistency. They've always been like Cloud9 are the only team who have been able to like really go above Energy. I think even though Energy come in here as 3rd seed, they're not going to like look at any other NA teams as threat except Cloud9. That's like a really big thing mentally for them, just to be able to go into this and be that confident. And we all thought this was going to be a pretty close series versus Cloud9 that they're going to lose. That's why I say 3-0. Don't worry, I still think Ghost are pretty good, but just not good enough. I just don't think they're going to be quite good enough on that day if this matchup happens.
I think Ghost are very potentially top 6 team. But when you have C9, PSG, Method, Energy, and Gale Force, they just feel a bit better.
Yeah, better class. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight onto Method NRG. I could definitely see a disagreement happening here. We've got like 3 matches left, and the teams remaining are Method, Energy, Gale Force, and C9. And we all, pretty much, we all agree that this is going to be a top 4, I guess, because I said that whoever went through here was going to be, or going to lose to NRG. We all had Method coming out of here. So yeah, this is like we're pretty set on this top 4 actually. But I'm not sure if we're going to agree
had
in top
Method
3.
losing to PSG and losers.
Yeah, so I had PSG.
Oh, okay.
Energy.
Okay, yeah, you had PSG. So you have PSG coming through here, I guess. That's true.
Yeah.
But I guess you can talk about that when you talk about Method here. So we'll go Espeon first. Method NRG. What do you think is going to happen here? Because this is your bracket
it's a rematch.
for sure.
Rematch of match 6 here, where we all predicted a 3-2 for NRG. But does anything change here? So
this
Method's
is day
coming
3.
off a big losers bracket run. Yeah, day 3. Methods kept winning. NRG dropped to C9, which, not the end of the world. C9, very, very solid team. Then they come through with the win over Ghost. Now, Method probably will have benefited a little bit more because they're getting used to the RLCS LAN environment and stuff. The question is that enough to put it over and change the prediction from the first one? I'm not sure. It was already super close the first time. I'm not really sure what to make of this. Again, I think this is going to be the real, like a litmus test for EU versus NA.
Yep.
I think this is going to be insane.
I see you really want NRG to win just because you want this to be the year of NA.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the one. NA are better. Because if NRG can get top 3 and Cloud9 can win, then NA are the best, right?
Right.
But if Method and Gale Force are both in the top 3 alongside Cloud9, everybody's going to be like, yeah, Cloud9 won, but then you had Method and Gale Force. And PSG had a tough bracket. So people will always be able to argue that EU are equal. It's just Cloud9 that are ahead.
I think it's go either way, but I'll give it 3-2 to NRG. Just
a repeat.
Yeah. See, I think I voted at Method down last time because it was their first ever match in RLCS. I think they're gonna, if they get to this point, and it's still a pretty big toss-up between Method and PSG. At this point, they're going to be in the match. They're in day 3. They're ready to go. They're on RLCS. They'll have figured everything out. And whether this is Method or PSG, I think it's the same result here. I think it's a 3-1 to the EU team.
So do I. I put my result in before you revealed which side was going to win, but I was going to say this as well. I think the Method are doing the Northern Gaming run from last year. Look at this. They lost in the first round, but then they've gone win, 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 and then win again. They're just going to be building up so much momentum that I think it's going to be too much like for NRG to stop. NRG managed to stop them and reverse sweep them in Northern Arena, but this is going to be more. They've got so much stage time now before they get into this match. Four best of 5s before they even start this.
I think that'll be really big for Method, having that chance to...
I think they're the team that will benefit the most from that practice.
I could definitely see that, yeah.
Which is why it's so important that they get through that PSG match, because if they, like, Yummy thinks PSG are going to get through here, and then do you think that you said that they're going to win this as well? If they do, Yummy? If PSG make it this far?
If PSG make it against NRG, then they win as well, I think.
So you think NRG are falling here no matter what?
It is interesting, because I think both Method and PSG are more explosive, I guess, than NRG. And so they definitely have chances to just lose if they're not firing on all cylinders. But I just don't think NRG can beat Method and PSG on day 3 after making it so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, NRG still, I mean, they got knocked out in 2 lands by, well, season 2 there was Precision Z Flipside, and then season 3 it was it was Mocket Northern Gaming, and then this season it's going to probably be like Cloud9, the first like NA team in 2 seasons to like take a win against them, But then it's just going to be EU again. I don't know. NRG and LAN have not got a good record against the EU. They beat Flipside last time, but I mean, Flipside were the worst performing EU team at that LAN. I think they could have taken down Leftovers as well. It's worth mentioning. But NRG still in LAN versus EU, it's just they're such a different team than versus NA. Versus NA, they just look so confident and they're like just pristine in everything they do. They just look better. But then as soon as they play EU, they just look slightly worse, in my opinion. And like Method to me are just a slightly faster. They shoot slightly harder. Both teams are phenomenal passers. Method, I think rotation is usually a little bit cleaner. It's gonna be very interesting. Like this,
I actually feel that Method, NRG, and PSG are all on like a scale of the same play style, with NRG being the safest of the three, and PSG being the most ridiculous, and Method being somewhere in between.
What about Cloud9? Where do they go? Are they completely different?
I feel like they're a different play style than NRG, Method, and PSG. They play a lot more rotationally and a lot safer than all of them. Consistent, outsmarting their opponents.
That's very interesting. Yeah, this is. I think this is the reason why no matter what happens in the final, EU are always going to have something to fall back on. Because they've got like two teams in the like losers finals. It's annoying. I think whoever wins this is the better region. Whoever wins this line is the better region. Full stop. No argument about it. Although people will make arguments like, oh yeah, but EU had second, third, and PSG had a tough PSG got knocked out by
if EU took
and
second,
EU.
third, and fourth, which I guess is technically possible.
Yeah, it could happen.
Probably
in a different bracket than what we made.
If Method beat NRG or something similar to that. Yeah, Method has to beat NRG and then go down here, maybe go down to the lower bracket on the opposite side. Then you could see EU taking second, third, and fourth. But whoever wins should be the best.
Let's move on to the next. This is another best of 7 with Method Gale Force. And it's an all EU affair that we've come up with, and in all of our individual brackets, it would have been an all EU affair. Yummy wanted to have PSG here himself, but myself, actually no. You would have had. What am I talking about? You would have had NRG. So this is the first part where we're all completely different, and it's me that's got Matty.
Yeah, you would have had PSG.
You would have PSG. I would have had Method. You would have had NRG. So we all have a different team in our individual brackets. So I guess in this case we can actually talk about all three. But first we'll go with the one that we have here. Actually, no, we'll go in reverse order since we'll leave the one that we have here till last. Let's go, first of all, NRG, Espeon. If this was NRG versus Gale Force, what would happen? It's your world. What would happen?
Yeah, I mean, Gale Force has just come out so solid. I mean, they have a decent bit of momentum. Yeah, they lost to C9, but both of their other matches, I think, will be a bit of confidence builders for them. And they know C9's a good team, and then they come in against NRG, and I think Gale Force would end up taking that maybe 4-2. I think they're just the pace there.
What do you think about that one, Yummy? Do you think Gale Force would take that?
So I kind of have to disagree a little bit. Well, not disagree necessarily, but in terms of Gale Force coming through, they're going to be having a huge break between the upper bracket match and the lower bracket final. But also, again, they haven't proven themselves against any of the expected top 4 at this point in time. So they're a huge question mark. Gale Force, you really don't know how they're going to be performing at this point. They don't have the opportunity to play. It's all going to be based off scrims. And how I guess they perform against C9, and I guess how much they crush Mocket could be a good indicator. It's very up in the air in terms of Gale Force. We'll know exactly how Method / PSG / NRG, in my case Method, in my case PSG will have performed at this point. And I do like Gale Force coming into this land. Again, I think they're extremely solid. They had a bad run at Northern Arena though, so they've shown that they're able to just shit the bed. This is such a hard match to really predict.
Are you still in the Gale Force NRG world?
I'm in Gale Force PSG.
Oh, you're in Gale Force PSG
If
world
it was
now. Okay,
Gale
gotcha.
Force versus NRG, I think I'd have to take Gale Force.
I think here, regardless of who comes in, it's kind of a volatile thing because again, like you said, Gale Force wouldn't have had to prove themselves yet. So
I think if it's Method and they've got this far, they're going to have that consistency to take down Gale Force. If it's PSG, it's up in the air. And if it's NRG, I think I'd give it to Gale Force. So if we're assuming Method, I actually want to give it ever so slightly in their favor, like a 4-3.
So you think Gale Force would move on against anybody except Method then?
Yeah, I think Gale Force are going to have the advantage against PSG and NRG.
And Espeon, you think Gale Force are having the advantage against anybody, or what about the Method and PSG worlds?
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions.
Method, it's true. Method is a really solid team. They have a ton of momentum coming in through this run, but I think I kind of just expect Gale Force to be able to come in and show up to this LAN. I mean, we've seen like it's really, really tough.
You just want to give them another second place. You just want the second place curse to go on. That's what it is.
I don't know about that. I just think, you know, we've seen Turbo come up really clutch. I just something about it. I just feel like Gale Force will show up, and get back.
They're coming in like in the favorite position as EU #1, right?
Yeah,
it's not out of the question. Their league play, as I said earlier, their 2 losses were from, if I recall, both reverse sweeps, Method and PSG. So those are incredibly tight matches as well. And the huge question mark on Gale Force is again that 3-0 loss to Ghost Gaming, and the loss. It was a 3-2 loss to PSG at Northern Arena.
Well, I think it's for the best that I'm going to stick with what I've always thought, and that is Gale Force are going to make the final. I think Method are going to make such a good series out of this if it is that world. But I think that no matter what matchup happens here, the Gale Force, I just think they have it in them to finally, when it's the last day, like this matchup, I don't think Gale Force are going to be ready. I think it's like they're going to be too cold. They're like I think the easy bracket that they're going to have in winners going into the winners finals versus Cloud9 is not going to help them. But after losing to Cloud9, I think they're really going to wake up. And this is where we're finally going to see Gale Force, like, you know, actually show us that they're worthy of a top 2 finish at RLCS. I just think that they've got it in them. Either it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they would face here. Like, I've got them to go over Method here. If PSG came through, I think they would beat PSG. If NRG come through, I think they'd beat NRG as well. So I'm trying to think now. Does this mean I think everybody's
that he's hyped for all these games? All of these games are actually incredible. Like again, there's no team that feels like, well, maybe apart from Pale Horse, that feel like they're a completely free win.
I just want to very quickly highlight. So Yummy said that he thinks Method would beat Gale Force, but in his own personal bracket, he has PSG beating Method, PSG beating Mocket, PSG beating NRG, and then Gale Force beating PSG. So you do have Gale Force in the final in your bracket. Espeon has NRG beating Method, but then Gale Force beating NRG. So actually, in all of our individual brackets, although we go off the rails a little bit here, we all converge again in time for the final, and this is what we all think is going to be the final. So that's kind of useful that is the case. So I think that without any further delay, we're going to talk about first the series number 1, and then we'll talk about series number 2, hypothetical or otherwise, after we're done that. But C9 Gale Force, the rematch of Upper. We had it pretty one-sided for Cloud9. Espeon, has anything changed, and if so, what has changed since this first matchup where Cloud9 beat Gale Force pretty handily?
Well, Gale Force here, they're coming off of a win against, we disagreed about what team, but a very good team. We all agree on that part. One of the best teams in the world. They come off a win to them, come into the grand finals. You know, they know that they didn't have as hard of a bracket as the bottom. I'm sure they coming in. So, you know, once they get here, it's hard to really say. But I think coming off a win, going back into the grand finals will really help them out. But I'm still going to put C9 4-3 in the first series. I think
Series 1 4-3. Interesting. Yummy, what do you have to say about this opening match?
Well, I agree that it's going to be much closer. That Gale Force are going to be a better team if they're here in the grand final compared to the upper final. They'll have more chance to prove themselves, get ready, be in there. It's very tough to like bet against C9. Very tough, considering their previous performances. I think if C9 were to fall, it would actually have been earlier anyway. You know, they could have fallen to PSG in match 5, and that would be incredibly interesting because then it'd be C9 making some of this lower bracket run potentially. I think if it was 2 series, then you'd give it. I mean, if Gale Force was in the upper bracket, you'd give it. I think in these matches, I'm just going to give it to whoever's in the upper bracket. Honestly, it's going to be a closer match, but it's going to be.
Hey, get out of my box. What are you doing in there?
Yeah.
Yo,
Oh,
that's my box. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's what. Yeah.
I definitely think if the C9 we see is a C9 that makes this big winners run and gets to the finals, it's also a C9 that's not going to be stopped once they get there. I agree with you that like if they're solid enough to get there, they're just going to.
But I could definitely like Gale Force are going to be an incredible EU team.
Oh yeah.
They could definitely make it. I actually would like to see what happens if Gale Force went down early for some reason and then had to make the run back. It just seems so unlikely.
I just want to point out that in the past 3 RLCS, every RLCS, all the RLCSs that have happened so far, no team has lost winners finals and then won losers finals. It has not happened. Season 1. It was Northern Gaming lost to, or it was were they Northern Gaming back then? I can't remember. The Weedham Girls or Northern Gaming, I can't remember. I think they just got picked up.
Yeah,
Yeah, just in time. Yeah, Northern Gaming, they got iBuy powered and then they got flip-sided. So they just went lose, bye-bye. After winning, they went win, lose, lost, and out. Season 2, it was Northern Gaming again, actually. They lost to Mocket, they got devoed, and then they lost to Flipside again. So see you later. They're home again. Season 3, it was NRG. They got mocked,
right?
Berated. So Mocket just put them into losers barely. They were so close, and then Northern Gaming smashed them. So actually, and I don't think that there's ever been a close loser finals after in RLCS. It's always been pretty one-sided, right? Like Flipside smashed Northern Gaming both times.
Rushed through from the lower bracket, just like.
Just on a
crushed everyone, got to a point where they're really good. Like Flipside in season 1 and season 2, and in season 3 it was Northern Gaming. Just coming through the lower bracket, just full steam ahead, and just crushed whoever got knocked down.
I think like that comeback, like to be the first team to bounce back from losers, like losing winners finals and then winning losers finals. As we all have Gale Force in our final here, coming out of losers after losing to Cloud9, I think that's going to be like the thing that separates them from other losers or teams that have made that journey or tried to make that journey before, and going to have like I think at least a second. I could definitely see bracket reset here. We saw Cloud9 losing first set to PSG. They had a slow start. Their mindset is very controlled, I think, and they're like, okay, we have 2 shots at this. Let's just take it easy. And that's not how you want to play against EU teams. And it was only the second series where they started, actually going for some crazy things where we saw, that cheeky little double dribble goal from Torment Squishy. I don't think you would have seen that in the first series against PSG, Northern Arena. That's the sort of thing we might see from Cloud9 in second set. But first set, I think Gale Force have got this, actually. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Is that logical? Or am I just crazy? Am I just an EU fanboy? Shoot me. I'm sorry.
I mean...
What do you think?
I definitely think that the momentum will help Gale Force coming in. And that's why, I have this one a lot closer. If it's a 4-3, it really could go either way. But
Yeah, neither me or Espeon have put them like a C9 at a guaranteed win. I actually would think differently if it was someone like Method or PSG or somebody making a long lower bracket run. I think they'd have a better chance of taking out the first match in the grand final.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think smashing it, yeah. Like if they wanted to just
strategy,
get into a second set, that would work. But it does like take a toll. Like I mean, it's really hard to play that many games, right? Like that's where the advantage of only having to make the one dip into loser bracket comes in. Is when you do get to the second set, and you're like, okay, my hands can't take any more Rocket League. This is actually insane. My eyes are starting to blur. But I don't know.
Right.
I said from the start, for some reason, I just think Gale Force have got this LAN. I don't know what it is, and I always stick with my gut in this sort of situation. So I do give this to Gale Force. In first set, I think it's going to be less close. Second set, I think it's going to be ridiculously close. But I just think they're going to edge it, and it's going to be heartbreaking for NA. That's just that's the world that I see. I kind of want to be wrong though. It'd be nice for Cloud9 to win. I hope that. I kind of hope.
Well,
they win,
I think you have to argue that C9 and Gale Force are the two favorites coming into the LAN, which is odd because Gale Force have not been that big performer until the end of the season, but we've seen that before, right?
Yeah, Turbo Pulsar, the two-time, back-to-back, the two-time. What year is it? 20. Oh, they're both in 2017. Never mind.
Yeah.
The two-time back-to-back 2017 esports Rocket League champion Turbo Pulsar, with no respect for North Americans whatsoever. He's gonna make it happen, I think. But I mean, you guys, just to fill in this bracket the exact same way that we did all the way through. This is like our overall Hive Mind bracket. It stops here. Cloud9 win. But obviously, in my world, the story goes on. It continues. We get past the viewer record because we don't just have the single series like we did in season 1. When everybody's like, please IBP, don't just win. We're almost at 100,000 viewers. And then they won.
Right.
And then over Zero's MVP. So I think Turbo Pulse at the two-time. I can't wait for that meme. It's going to be so good.
What's really interesting is that it feels like North America have just like one incredibly very likely team. But in EU, you could see any of Gale Force, Method, or PSG taking it out, especially Gale Force and PSG in my mind, considering their recent performance. But I could see any of those 4 teams going through and winning the grand final. NRG have a chance as well, though I think it's less than those other teams.
NRG are just likely to get to 4th place, right? And then be 4th.
NRG is like a so solid team that I would be really surprised if they got early, but I think they're not as much of a... Like, there are some... For example, G2. I think G2 is like sort of a dark horse. If JNAPS is just insane on LAN, then G2 can actually make a really big run because JNAPS is so good. But there's a lot more unknowns there. So I think like G2 might have a better chance of making a big run, but I think NRG on average would place higher than G2. I don't think NRG can be counted out though. I think they do have a decent shot. If they're just all on top of their game, they're all just playing super solid, then they're tough.
I don't know.
I think any team actually has a shot, at least from NA and EU. Like if Ghost beat Mocket, maybe they cause an upset against Gale Force, go down to the lower bracket against C9 or something like that. There's again, it's one of the tightest competitions. There's like teams that are obviously well favored. There's a top 5 for sure, but it's not as differentiated as previous seasons in my eyes.
I do think, I think there's going to be a lot, like I alluded to earlier in the stream. Last season, NA, like G2 had looked really good early and then collapsed, didn't make LAN. Iris, I think they just had one bad day in qualifiers. If they had made league play, I think they definitely would have made LAN and made a big impact there. So I think there was more separation in the team's last LAN than there will be this time. And there's going to be a lot of really close and interesting matchups.
Espeon and Yummy Cheeseman, their Twitter handles are on screen. be sure to drop them a follow, give them some love. Much appreciation from those guys. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Hope you have a great day.